Chapter 2:15. In the depths of the pitch-black, gloomy underground lake, 60 lanterns emitting faint halos were floating. In front of them was the Heavenly Flood Palace, which had sunk into the bottom of the lake. The men of Ching-Hu Island refused to lead the way no matter what. At this time, the other parties also had their own ideas. Previously, when Ching-Hu Island led the way to Emperor Yu's palace, the 49 innate experts had the same idea. However, when the Heavenly Flood Palace appeared in front of him, he remembered that Emperor Yu's treasure was in the palace. Everyone began to think about it. Brother Qin Wolf, we have to separate from those big sects later. Otherwise, even if they found Emperor Yu's treasure together, with the strength of those large sects, we definitely won't have a share. If we split up, we might be able to find it first and leave after we get it. The white-robed young man, Lu Xiu, said to Ting Qingshan in a low voice. Ting Qingshan nodded lightly. At the same time, Ting Qingshan also discovered that the surrounding sects were all whispering to each other. It was just that their conversations were very close to each other, and their voices were very low. Ting Qingshan could not hear clearly either. In the Great Yen Mountain, these innate experts could still unite. But when we reach the Heavenly Flood Palace, Ting Qingshan shook his head and thought to himself, when we find Emperor Yu's treasure, we will probably have to fight. However, I don't know if there's any way to deal with that golden dragon turtle with so many people. Haha! Island Lord Gu. The King of Beasts Wu Ho laughed heartily and said, "You guys have entered the Heavenly Flood Palace once. I wonder what dangers there are." Regardless of what they were planning, the other people were all looking at Gu Yong of Ching-Hu Island. It was much better to know the dangers of the Heavenly Flood Palace in advance. Gu Yong's gaze swept across the crowd. I've said before that there are many demonic beasts in the Heavenly Flood Palace. Moreover, some of the demonic beasts were very strong. Therefore, Ching-Hu Island has suffered losses. Moreover, we encountered demonic beasts as soon as we entered the Heavenly Flood Palace. As for the depths of the Heavenly Flood Palace, we don't know. However, according to the map, the Heavenly Flood Palace is the location of Emperor Yu's treasure, Gu Yong said. Who wouldn't have guessed it after seeing the Heavenly Flood Palace? The leader of the 9 black-clothed law enforcers of the Ying family, Ying Haojiang, looked towards the Heavenly Flood Palace. Besides the Heavenly Emperor of the Qin Mountains, there are only Emperor Yu, martial ancestor Shiga, Li Taibai, and a few others. Even if this palace isn't Emperor Yu's palace, it must be the other 3 palaces. Everyone was very clear. Regardless of who it was that built such a huge palace, it was definitely worth exploring. If you don't want to go in, we'll be leaving first, Ying Haojiang said coldly. Immediately after, the 9 black-clothed law enforcers of the Ying family walked towards the entrance of the palace. A distance of 100 feet, 100 feet, 8 feet, the courageous are stuffed to death, and the timid are starved to death. Let's follow them. The 6 people from Hong Tian City followed them. Whoever entered first to seize Emperor Yu's treasure would have the advantage. Of course, the risk of entering first was also greater. Fortune and misfortune coexist. Island Lord? Zhao Danshan looked at Gu Yong. Gu Yong also frowned and said, "Why hasn't the golden dragon turtle appeared yet?" That's right. This palace occupies an area of at least a dozen li. The golden dragon turtle is probably somewhere else in the palace and wants to rush to the entrance of the palace. It will take some time. Oh no, I let this group of people leave first. Ting Qingshan watched this scene silently. Roar! Suddenly, a roar that could shake one's soul came from the pitch-black Heavenly Flood Palace. The roar was so deep that it made people's hearts tremble. The Heavenly Flood Palace was completely pitch-black. In addition to the reverence they had for Emperor Yu, the sudden roar frightened the many innate experts. Retreat! With a roar, the 9 black-clothed law enforcers of the Ying family moved forward slowly, but when they retreated rapidly like 9 sharp arrows. The 6 innate experts of Hong Tian City also retreated rapidly. In an instant, they were over 10 zhang away from the entrance of the palace. Buzz, the originally pitch-black entrance of the Heavenly Flood Palace, suddenly emitted rays of golden light. The light could be clearly seen within a radius of 20 zhang from the entrance of the palace. The 60 innate experts watched this scene with vigilance. So magical! Lu Xiu, who was beside Ting Qingshan, praised. Although it was the second time for Ting Qingshan to see this scene, he still exclaimed in his heart, "This underground palace hasn't been damaged for thousands of years, and the entrance of the palace can still emit golden light. Emperor Yu's methods are truly unimaginable." At this moment, at the entrance of the enormous palace, the golden dragon turtle, about 3 zhang long, 5 meters, appeared. The patterns on the turtle's shell were modeled, and the head of the dragon turtle was like that of a flood dragon. The crisscrossed sharp teeth in its mouth were like saws, and its pair of glowing green eyes became extremely cold when it noticed the group of people of Qinghu Island. Obviously, it was angry that the people of Qinghu Island still dared to come after receiving a warning last time. Roar! The golden dragon turtle roared deeply. Golden dragon turtle! The 60 innate experts, who were over 10 zhang away from the entrance of the palace, cried out in surprise. Many people's eyes were filled with disbelief. Why is there a golden dragon turtle here? If he's here, how can we get in? This group of human experts could be considered to be at the peak of the land of the 9 prefectures. In the entire land of the 9 prefectures, the only people who were more powerful than them were the Emptiness Realm experts. They could be counted on one's fingers. This group of human experts had an astonishing influence in the land of the 9 prefectures. However, they were dumbfounded when they saw the golden dragon turtle. Even if they saw a demonic beast the size of a small mountain, this group of human experts would not be so frightened. It's a pity that the golden dragon turtle came out early. When Gu Yong saw this scene, he thought to himself, if we wait for the 9 people of the Ying family to enter, and the golden dragon turtle suddenly comes out, there are 9 of them, at least a few of them will die. Especially that Ying Haojiang. It's best if he gets smacked into mush by the golden dragon turtle's claw. The human experts all had their own thoughts. Gu Yong, there's a golden dragon turtle, yet you didn't say anything. What are you thinking? The 9 black-robed law enforcers of the Ying family were furious. The last time we came, we didn't encounter a golden dragon turtle. He reckoned that there was only one Emptiness Realm demonic beast in this palace. What a coincidence for you to run into each other at the very beginning. Your luck is pretty good. If you ran into it inside, you wouldn't even have time to escape, Gu Yong said with a smile. The long-browed old monk of the Mani Temple said loudly, "Everyone, let's not talk about this. Now, the golden dragon turtle is blocking the entrance of the palace. How can we go in?" Dragon turtle. It has already transformed into a golden color. It is extremely strong, and its shell is indestructible. No matter how we attack it, we probably won't be able to hurt the golden dragon turtle. Even an Emptiness Realm expert would have a headache when facing the golden dragon turtle. Why are you talking about this? Who has a solution? The innate experts were slightly anxious. After the golden dragon turtle roared twice, it lay down. Its huge body lay at the entrance of the palace and narrowed its eyes. Occasionally, a green light would shoot out from its eyelids and sweep across the insignificant group of human experts. "Let me try." A deep and resounding voice sounded. Everyone looked over and saw the disheveled king of beasts, Wu Ho, walking towards the entrance of the palace. The group of people immediately looked at the king of beasts, Wu Ho. Ting Qingshan was slightly surprised as well. This Wu Ho is ranked first in the heavenly ranking. However, no matter how powerful he is only a Golden Dan innate expert. How can he defeat the golden dragon turtle? However, Ting Qingshan also understood that the person ranked first in the heavenly ranking was probably very close to an Emptiness Realm expert. For example, the person ranked first in the earthly ranking and the person ranked last in the earthly ranking could have an explosive attack of 100,000 Jin. As for the person ranked top 10 in the earthly ranking, for example, the power of Thunder God Saber Wu Yu's saber was much stronger than the person ranked last in the earthly ranking, Blood Moon Saber Meng Tian. As for the person ranked first in the earthly ranking, his attack was probably not much weaker than an Emptiness Dan innate expert. Similarly, the person ranked first in the heavenly ranking could fight against a few Golden Dan innate experts at the same time. Even if this Wu Ho was not as strong as an Emptiness Realm expert, he was probably very close to an Emptiness Realm expert. Wu Ho stopped about 70 to 80 zhang away from the entrance of the palace. Roar! Wu Ho let out a soft roar. The golden dragon turtle's originally squinted eyes couldn't help but open and stared at Wu Ho with a pair of green eyes. Roar ho! Wu Ho let out another roar. Roar! The golden dragon turtle actually let out a roar as well. Immediately, a human and a demonic beast started roaring at each other softly. The other 59 innate experts were all dumbfounded. Wow, the rumors are true. The king of beasts Wu Ho can really communicate with a demon. The white-cloaked Lu Xiao exclaimed in surprise. Ting Qingshan was also dumbfounded. There really were all kinds of people who could actually communicate with a demon. In the eyes of humans, those roars might only have slight changes in the pronunciation and the length of the roars. As for other things, no one could tell the difference. However, the king of beasts Wu Ho and the golden dragon turtle were communicating like this. Perhaps we really have a chance to enter. The innate experts present were all filled with hope. In front of the golden dragon turtle, they couldn't use force. Using a soft approach might be more effective. At the bottom of the lake, in the heavenly flood palace, one was inside the palace gate while the other was outside the palace gate. A human and a demonic beast were communicating like this. The other 59 innate experts couldn't understand at all and could only wait dumbly. Roar! Wu Ho let out a deep roar. The golden dragon turtle that was originally lying down actually stood up and raised its head to let out a roar. What's going on? The others couldn't understand, but they all felt that something was wrong. The king of beasts Wu Ho roared a few more times. This time, the golden dragon turtle didn't roar. Instead, boom! A ball of air shot out from its mouth. The king of beasts Wu Ho blocked it with his right arm. The ball of air hit Wu Ho's right arm, and Wu Ho's entire body was thrown 10 zhang backward, landing right in the middle of the crowd. Brother Wu Ho, how is it? All of them looked at the king of beasts Wu Ho. Even if I don't say it, everyone should have guessed it. The king of beasts Wu Ho shook his head and said helplessly, "There's nothing we can do. I said so much, but this old dragon turtle just won't let us in. However, there's good news. This is the location of Emperor Yu's treasure. Moreover, this old dragon turtle followed Emperor Yu's order and guarded this place." Chapter 216. Following Emperor Yu's order and guarding here? The many innate experts couldn't believe it. Just how many years has this old dragon turtle lived for? The lifespan of humans was limited. The lifespan of an innate expert was 200 years, and the lifespan of an emptiness realm expert was 500 years. They were at the level of the legendary Emperor Yu and the celestial emperor of the Qin Mountains. Although the books did not record how long they could live, it was obvious that none of them had lived to this day. No matter how powerful they were, they all disappeared in the river of time. As one of the 4 omnipotent experts, Emperor Yu, the dragon turtle was from the same era as Emperor Yu. The land of the 9 prefectures had already experienced the era of Emperor Yu and the other 3 omnipotent experts. Until now, no omnipotent expert had been born for almost 2,000 years. However, this dragon turtle was still alive. At least, it had lived longer than the 4 omnipotent experts combined. Although none of the demonic beasts could reach the level of Emperor Yu, their lifespan is something that humans can't compare with. The human expert sighed. God is fair. Ting Qingshan sighed. Demonic beasts couldn't be the masters of the land of the 9 prefectures like humans. However, their lifespan was enough to make many humans envious. Everyone, let's think about how to enter the Heavenly Flood Palace. Gu Yong, the island lord of Qinghu Island, said, "This old dragon turtle is blocking the entrance of the palace. How can we enter?" There are 2 ways to enter. The one who spoke was the king of beasts Wu Ho. The innate experts all looked at Wu Ho. Ting Qingshan was also surprised. Wu Ho still had a way? As far as I know, Wu Ho smiled and said, "Speed is the weakness of demonic beasts like the dragon turtle. Brother Wu Ho, this isn't an azure dragon turtle that is several zhang long. It's a golden dragon turtle that is comparable to an emptiness realm expert. It's much smaller, but its speed has also become faster." Wu Ma of Hongtian City said. Wu Ho smiled confidently and said, "I know. Its speed is much faster than the azure dragon turtle. However, the azure dragon turtle is too slow. Even if its speed increases, it won't be shocking. Plus, no matter what kind of demonic beast it is, it can't be extremely powerful. This golden dragon turtle has great strength and invincible defense. This means that even if its speed increases, it won't be shocking." Wu Ho appeared very confident. Everyone present nodded to themselves. Indeed, no demonic beast was perfect in every aspect. The first option is to enter the Heavenly Flood Palace at a speed faster than the golden dragon turtle. As long as you're faster than it. So what if it's powerful? It can't catch up to you, Wu Ho said with a smile. Of course. Although the golden dragon turtle's speed isn't at its maximum, it's still very fast. But it wouldn't be too slow. I estimate that it should be comparable to an ordinary golden Dan innate expert, Wu Ho said. Everyone was stunned. The first option was to charge in with speed. The gate of the Heavenly Flood Palace is 300 zhang wide. The dragon turtle was only 30 feet long and was as big as the palace gate. As long as you're fast, you can definitely enter, Wu Ho said with a smile. However, it's also dangerous to force your way through. No one knows what's inside the Heavenly Flood Palace. What's the second option? Everyone looked at Wu Ho. Most of the experts present probably wouldn't be able to enter through the first path. Wu Ho pointed at the Heavenly Flood Palace and said, "Look at the walls and roof of this palace. I don't believe that even the walls and roof of a palace with a circumference of several dozen li could be that hard. The second option is to choose one of the walls or the roof of the palace and blast a hole. Then enter the Heavenly Flood Palace through the hole." Everyone present frowned. Ting Qingshan was also hesitant. He had seen the material of the walls of the Heavenly Flood Palace before. He thought, "I'm afraid it's not easy to blast through the walls and roof of the palace. There are so many demonic beasts at the bottom of the lake. If the demonic beasts fought, it would easily affect the palace. However, the walls of the Heavenly Flood Palace don't have a scratch. Alright, everyone. You can choose between the 2 options." The King of Beasts Wu Ho smiled and walked towards the palace gate again. Roar! Wu Ho roared at the golden dragon turtle again. The golden dragon turtle stared at Wu Ho. Phew! When Wu Ho neared the palace gate, his speed suddenly increased. He streaked across the palace gate like a jet-black flowing light. After entering the Heavenly Flood Palace, his speed actually increased again. Roar! The golden dragon turtle roared angrily and dashed towards Wu Ho. "Haha, there's actually no water in the Heavenly Flood Palace." A loud laughter came from inside the palace while Wu Ho himself disappeared from everyone's sight. What a fast speed! Ting Qingshan sighed inwardly. The first of the heavenly ranking is indeed impressive. To be able to sit on the first position of the heavenly ranking for over 30 years, one must have reached the pinnacle of the Golden Dan innate realm in terms of speed, attacking methods, and defense. Ting Qingshan judged with one glance, "This Wu Ho's speed is much faster than mine. The golden dragon turtle is much slower than him. Wu Ho went in. Many people from the Supreme Sex began to feel anxious. Immediately, the Supreme Sex began to discuss, while Ting Qingshan's attention fell on Qing Hu Island. Island Lord, Qing Hu Island can't lose too many people in the Heavenly Flood Palace. Zhao Danshan said softly, Island Lord, you are still young, but your potential is much greater than mine. Wait outside for the news. Senior Marshal Brother Zhao is right. The gray-haired Yuan Lufeng said, among the 11 of us, there are 5 Golden Dan innate realm experts. We should choose the older ones to enter the Heavenly Flood Palace. If Qing Hu Island lost too many people, it would be disadvantageous for the future of Qing Hu Island. Gu Yong thought for a while and nodded, all right. Soon, the candidates were decided. Among the 11 people, Island Lord Gu Yong, his martial sister, 2 Golden Dan innate realm experts, 1 True Dan innate realm expert, and the only Emptiness Dan innate realm expert stayed. As for the others, Zhao Danshan, Yuan Lufeng, and Elder Hu, the 3 Golden Dan innate realm experts, led 4 True Dan innate realm experts and prepared to enter the Heavenly Flood Palace. After all, among the 5 Golden Dan innate realm experts, Zhao Danshan and Yuan Lufeng were the oldest. Although Elder Hu was slightly younger, he was still over 100 years old. Gu Yong was only over 50 years old, and his martial sister was 2 years younger than him. These 2 people were already Golden Dan innate realm experts. It could be said that among the experts of Qing Hu Island, they had the highest chance of reaching the Emptiness realm. Martial Brother Yuan, you lead the others and follow the second path. With my speed, I can rush in alone. Zhao Danshan said. At this moment, the experts of the various sects all made their choice. 3 experts rushed into the Heavenly Flood Palace. They were the King of Beasts Wu Ho, Zhao Danshan, and the long-browed old monk of the Mani Temple. The others didn't choose this path. After all, it was very difficult to surpass the Golden Dragon Turtle. This Golden Dragon Turtle can't catch up with Wu Ho, Zhao Danshan, and Elder Hu, so it actually stopped chasing them and is still blocking the entrance? Seeing that the Golden Dragon Turtle wasn't anxious at all, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but guess. It's very possible that there are other dangers in the Heavenly Flood Palace besides the Golden Dragon Turtle. At this moment, a great number of innate experts left the entrance of the palace. The men of Qing Hu Island actually split up. Ting Qingshan also noticed that Gu Yong and the other 3 stayed where they were while Zhao Danshan rushed in. As for Yuan Lufeng and the other 5 innate experts, they followed the large group and rushed towards the other places of the Heavenly Flood Palace. It seems like they don't dare to let everyone go in. It's a pity. If they don't go in, it will be difficult for me to kill Gu Yong with my strength. Ting Qingshan didn't hesitate and followed the large group. The 6 men led by Yuan Lufeng are all elite. 2 Golden Dan innate experts and 4 True Dan innate experts. If I can kill all of them, it will be a blow to Qing Hu Island. Other than Gu Yong and the other 3, the other 50-plus people followed the second method. After all, since they chose to come to the Great Yen Mountain, they were all prepared. At the bottom of the dark lake, the 50-plus lanterns swam all the way until they were about 2 li away from the palace entrance. Everyone, this wall should be harder than the top. Let's break through the top and enter. Everyone agreed. Everyone arrived at the top of the Heavenly Flood Palace that seemed to have no end. They chose a spot and stopped. Qi. Ing Haojiang waved his hand and an icy blue innate true origin bombarded the top. The mud and water plants on the top were all blasted away, revealing the top made of azure green material. The innate true origin didn't even leave a mark. The 50-plus innate experts couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. I have never seen this azure green material before. They all realized that it wouldn't be easy to break through the top. Let me do it. A deep voice sounded. The skinny honorable of the shooting sun god mountain, who was wearing scale armor, took the godly bow from his back and pulled it into a full moon shape. Sky blue innate true origin emanated from his left hand and spread along the bow. The innate true origin then condensed into a sky blue ball of light on the index finger of his right hand. Ting Qingshan was slightly surprised. This expert of the shooting sun god mountain didn't use an arrow. Release. The ball of light shot diagonally towards the top of the heavenly flood palace. Bang! The top shook violently. The people standing on the top could feel the violent shaking under their feet. Everyone looked carefully and saw a hole the size of a human head appear on the top of the azure green material. At the same time, the bottom of the hole was penetrated. The Honorable of the Shooting Sun God Mountain frowned and said in a hoarse voice, "The hardness of the top of the heavenly flood palace is comparable to dark steel. However, the thickness of the top is only about 1 chi. Everyone, look. The hole is shrinking." Everyone was shocked to find that the hole, which was the size of a human head, was shrinking continuously. In the time it took to say 2 words, it had become the size of a fist. Automatic recovery? Ting Qingshan finally understood why the heavenly flood palace didn't have any scars after such a long time. According to the arrow I shot just now, if we want to blast a hole big enough for 1 person to enter, 3 Golden Dan innate experts would be needed. It would probably take 3 Golden Dan innate experts to attack the top at the same time. The skinny man continued, "Of course, if all the Golden Dan innate experts attack the top at the same time, we would be able to blast a hole big enough for 4 to 5 people to enter at the same time." Everyone had just witnessed the hardness of the top. "All right," Ying Haojiang of the Ying family said coldly, "with the hole as the center, all the Golden Dan innate experts will attack that place together in an area of 1 zhang." As he spoke, he raised the black long spear in his hand. Immediately, the Golden Dan innate experts and even 3 of the monks of the Mani Temple walked out. A total of 12 people gathered together. "Attack!" Ying Haojiang ordered. 2 chapters finished. Why did Emperor you have such skills? Hee. Let's shout for the monthly vote. Now that the monthly votes are ranked 4th, Tomato has more than 10,000 subscriptions in 24 hours, but the monthly votes are pitifully few. I hope the brothers who subscribe will support Tomato's monthly vote. Let Tomato be more motivated and shout, "Come, monthly votes!" Chapter 217. The colorful innate true origin appeared cold in the pitch-black lake water. It appeared on the weapons and attacked the roof of the heavenly flood palace together. The human experts who had not reached the Golden Dan innate realm were watching from the side. Ting Qingshan noticed the 3 Mani Temple monks and thought to himself, "The experts of the Buddhist sect are special indeed. Their purple-red iron rods have a faint golden glow." Rumble, the roof of the palace shook violently, and a faint green glow flowed along the edge of the hole. The hole created by the 12 super experts was about 1.5 zhang wide. "Everyone, the hole is shrinking. Let's go in quickly." As soon as Ying Haojiang finished speaking, the 12 super experts surrounding the hole were the first to jump down. "Quick! The hole is shrinking," the innate experts said as they jumped down at the same time. Of course, Ting Qingshan followed the crowd and quickly jumped into the hole at the top. When Ting Qingshan jumped, the hole had already shrunk to only 1 zhang wide. As soon as his feet landed, Ting Qingshan immediately dodged to the side. The person who jumped behind him landed at his previous position. "It's pitch black." Ting Qingshan looked around and realized that the walls on both sides were made of green material. Everyone was in an alley, and there was a fork in front of them. However, no matter the walls or the floor, they were all made of green material. Why does this place look like a snowy alley in a CS game in my previous life? As a top assassin, it was necessary to know some basic knowledge of the society, and even some social etiquette. This was a must for disguise. As CS was a popular game when Ting Qingshan was alive, he had played it a few times and had a general understanding of the game. The heavenly flood palace was pitch black. Others might not be able to see it clearly. However, Ting Qingshan had the power of the night, so he could see it clearly. The floor was green, the walls were green, the roof was green, and the alley was straight. This was a completely sealed environment. Here, there was no point of reference to determine the direction. No matter how good an inborn expert's sense of direction is, he wouldn't be able to tell north, south, east, and west after making a few turns here and there. These thoughts instantly appeared in Ting Qingshan's mind. However, from the moment Ting Qingshan landed until now, only 2 breaths of time had passed. Obviously, Ting Qingshan's thinking speed was very fast. Everyone's coming down. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked up. The hole had shrunk to only 3 feet wide. In one of the pitch-black alleys in the Heavenly Flood Palace, a total of 53 human experts gathered here. There is no water in this Heavenly Flood Palace. An expert from the Shooting Sun God Mountain exclaimed. Senior brother, what's so strange about that? When the King of Beasts Wu Ho rushed into the Heavenly Flood Palace, didn't he say that there was no water in the Heavenly Flood Palace? Of course I remember. But junior brother, the strangest thing is, why didn't the water flow down the hole we just created? Originally, because the Heavenly Flood Palace was pitch black, everyone was vigilant, fearing that there might be demonic beasts. None of them noticed this. There was a hole, but why didn't the water flow down? It's true. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked. At this moment, the hole was only the size of a watermelon. A faint azure glow flowed, but no water flowed down. Ting Qingshan took a deep breath. Such fresh air. Ting Qingshan felt even more strange. The palace gate of the Heavenly Flood Palace was obviously wide open, and the hole was created, but no water came in. Secondly, the huge palace was underwater and completely sealed. But why? Was the air so fresh? Ting Qingshan frowned as he looked around. All of this was indeed very strange. This is Emperor Yu's method. Ying Haojiang scanned the surroundings and said, "Don't talk nonsense. Now, the most important thing is to find Emperor Yu's treasure, get it, and leave this place. Third brother, you guys spread out and see what's going on." Okay. The 6 black-cloaked law-enforcing elders of the Ying family spread out. Each of them relied on the glow of the innate true origin to barely see 10 zhang away. There was no water in the Heavenly Flood Palace, so everyone could see further. If they were in the lake, they could only see a few zhang away. Martial brothers, you guys go check the surroundings. The people of Xiao Yao Palace also began to spread out. Martial nephews, you 4 go check the surroundings. Qing Hu Islands Yuan Lufeng, who had white hair on his temples, ordered. Immediately, the 4 true Dan innate experts spread out to explore the surroundings. The other forces didn't run around in a hurry, but carefully explored the surroundings. Brother Qinlang, let's go take a look. The white-cloaked young man, Lu Xiu, couldn't help but want to explore as well. Okay. Ting Qingshan immediately moved forward. This alley was perfectly straight, and there was a crossroad 20 zhang ahead. If he continued forward, it would be a dead end. Ting Qingshan didn't need to walk to see that there was a sealed wall 30 zhang ahead. It was a dead end. Standing at the crossroad, Ting Qingshan looked around. It was still the same dark green wall. There was also a crossroad on the left side, and if he continued forward, it would be a dead end. On the right side there were 4 crossroads. If he continued forward, it would also be a dead end. A maze. Ting Qingshan guessed it with just one glance. If I'm not wrong, the entire Heavenly Flood Palace is probably a maze of this type. The alleys are all 3 zhang wide. Some are dead ends and some have crossroads. The walls, floor, and ceiling are all dark green. Ting Qingshan gasped. This kind of maze was very troublesome. Normally, there was only one way out, and the others were all dead ends. One wrong step would lead to many wrong steps. In his previous life, Ting Qingshan only practiced this kind of maze training when he was resting. This heavenly flood palace has a circumference of at least 10 li. Normally, there is an alley 20 zhang wide. If I calculate it this way, there are at least 10,000 alleys. And this doesn't include the small alleys. Ting Qingshan instantly calculated a rough number, and his facial expression changed slightly. Even with his memory and special training, he still couldn't figure it out. If he didn't have a map, he would have to rely on the method of elimination to record the routes one by one to find a way out. He would have starved to death in such a long time. If we start from the entrance, let me eliminate and find the only way. Then we might be able to find it in 10 days to half a month. Because the alley at the entrance of the palace must be the right one. But now that we are in the maze, it's troublesome. Ting Qingshan looked back and saw that Qing Hu Island's Yuan Lufeng and Elder who were still at the gathering place. If they want to escape, they can't escape so quickly and attract other people's attention. Ting Qingshan ran to the next crossroad and observed. As expected, no matter where it was this kind of alley. Go back. Ting Qingshan quickly returned to the original alley. At this moment, Yuan Lufeng and Elder who were still there. Ting Qingshan could hear the heated discussion from afar. It's the same everywhere. It's pitch black and some of the alleys are dead ends. It's a maze. I don't even know which path to take. Just now I only took 2 forks. I just turned around and looked around, and I lost my way. If he hadn't heard the voices of a group of people, he wouldn't have come here. I'm afraid I won't be able to find this place. The walls of this maze are all the same. It's very easy to get lost. Some of the inborn experts had explored the area and were shocked by the road conditions. I can see very far with my eyes, and I have a knack for this kind of maze. However, in a year and a half, I might not be able to find the true path. Them? My eyes can't see far. Ting Qingshan pondered. Emperor, you must have left a map for this kind of maze. Ting Qingshan glanced at the group of men from Qing Hu Island. Ting Qingshan sneered and walked towards the crowd. Previously, when Yuan Lufeng and Elder who ordered the 4 true Dan innate experts to explore, they also secretly instructed, after you guys go explore, we will gather together. Don't come here, but go to the forked road on the left. We will meet there. The experts of the other sects thought that the men of Qing Hu Island were exploring. In fact, they were secretly moving. The 4 true Dan innate experts moved to the forked road on the left. As for Yuan Lufeng and Elder Hu, they were observing the situation and looking for a chance to move. Yuan Lufeng and Elder Hu were already standing quite far away from the crowd, at least 7 or 8 zhang away from them. Only a few people were paying attention to them. Go! Yuan Lufeng and Elder Hu withdrew their innate true origin at almost the same time, and their bodies instantly turned pitch black. Phew! Phew! The 2 quickly fled to the left. In the pitch black environment, no innate true origin appeared on the surface of their bodies, so other people couldn't see them. Moreover, the 2 remembered the route ahead. Although they couldn't see, they could still rush to the meeting point. The 2 of you from Qing Hu Island, where are you going? A loud and clear voice resounded in the passageway of the palace. They ran away. The men of Qing Hu Island ran away. The innate experts covered their bodies with halos and ran in all directions. Within the time of a breath, 3 innate experts, including Ting Qingshan, ran to the forked road on the left. The others were blind. The large group of people scattered and ran to the forked road. Ting Qingshan saw them from afar. At this moment, the 6 men of Qing Hu Island were still in the passageway. They are here. A shout sounded. A group of innate experts quickly gathered. Ting Qingshan looked indifferently at the 6 men of Qing Hu Island in the passageway. The faces of the 6 men were filled with fear and anger. They didn't know the route ahead. If they didn't cover their bodies with halos, they would run like blind people and would easily bump into walls. If they covered their bodies with halos, they would be easily discovered by others. How could they react so fast? Yuan Lufeng and the others couldn't believe it. Why are they running? It's as hard as ascending to heaven to get out of this maze. There must be a map of the maze. Discussions sounded. Hearing this, Ting Qingshan couldn't help but smile. Chapter 218. In the Heavenly Flood Palace, at a fork in the maze. 47 innate experts gathered here, staring at the 6 men of Qinghu Island. Trouble. Yuan Lufeng was worried. Actually, before they came in, the men of Qinghu Island already knew that this Heavenly Flood Palace was a maze. This was because Emperor Yu's treasure map contained a map of the maze. Therefore, before Yuan Lufeng and the others came in, they discussed a solution. They knew clearly. In the pitch-black Heavenly Flood Palace, when the innate experts entered, the first thing they did was to explore the surroundings. Once they finished exploring, they would definitely find out that this was a maze. Then, they would quickly guess that there must be a map of the maze. If that happened, the innate experts would definitely surround them. Therefore, Yuan Lufeng and the others pretended to explore the surroundings, but they were actually moving to another gathering point. Because many innate experts were paying attention to them, Yuan Lufeng and Elder who stayed behind to confuse the others. They were waiting for the others to be shocked by the maze and not pay attention to them, then they would sneak away. As long as the innate experts reacted 2 or 3 times slower, then the men of Qinghu Island would have enough time to sneak away. After all, in the pitch-black environment, as long as they hid slightly further away, they would not be found in this maze. Unfortunately, they were seen by someone just as they were escaping. They were not given any time to escape. Yuan Lufeng, why do the men of Qinghu Island want to sneak away? Standing in front of the large group of innate experts was Ying Haojiang of the Ying family. Ying Haojiang's cold eyes stared at the 6 men of Qinghu Island through the golden mask. Without exploring, we wouldn't have known that this is a maze. Now everyone should understand. Qinghu Island, please hand over the map of the maze. A fat monk of Mani Temple said in a deep voice. Yuan Lufeng, hand over the map of the maze. The elegant middle-aged man wearing a purple cloak from Xiao Yao Palace sneered. Everyone knows how hard the roof of this Heavenly Flood Palace is. If a Golden Dan innate expert was alone, he probably wouldn't be able to blast a hole big enough for one person to escape. Without the map, once we split up, we would probably starve to death in this maze. Indeed, Ting Qingshan. Once a person was alone in the Heavenly Flood Palace, he would be trapped in the maze. They would indeed starve to death. If he was unlucky enough to encounter a powerful demonic beast, he might even lose his life. Do you want us to die? Lu Xiu was anxious. Ting Qingshan also shouted, People of Qinghu Island, don't push us too far. Without the map of the labyrinth, the only fate awaiting them was death by starvation. If you push him too far, humph. That's right. If you push him too far, humph. A murderous glint flashed across the eyes of the strong man from Hong Tian City. Many inborn experts were closing in and pressuring him. The men of Qinghu Island retreated slowly. They didn't dare to retreat as they were afraid that they would be surrounded and killed by many experts. Especially the experts of the Shooting Sun God Mountain, who could attack from afar. It would be difficult for them to escape. Maze map. Yuan Liufeng's cold gaze swept across the group of innate experts. Qinghu Island doesn't have a map of the maze. We only found out that Emperor Yu's treasure was in the Heavenly Flood Palace. I think this maze is a difficult problem that Emperor Yu left for those who want to get the treasure. It's impossible for Emperor Yu to simply give us Emperor Yu's treasure. Still quibbling, Ying Haojiang shouted angrily. Elder Yuan's words make sense. Ting Qingshan said. Many innate experts frowned and looked at Ting Qingshan. Everyone had a good impression of this innate expert named Qin Lang, because Qin Lang had found the entrance of the bottomless pit. But now, his words made many people unhappy. Ting Qingshan continued, Elder Yuan, I believe what you said. However, the others might not. I think Elder Yuan should let the others search you to see if you have the map of the maze. I believe that the map of the maze with a radius of more than 10 li must have been recorded on paper. It's impossible to memorize it with your brains alone. Let's have everyone search for it. If you can't find it, I believe that everyone here will apologize to Elder Yuan. Many experts of the Ying family, Mani Temple, and Shooting Sun God Mountain laugh. Yuan Lufeng, since you said so, you can let us search, Ying Haojiang said. We will know if it's real or fake. The innate experts said as they stared at the men of Qinghu Island. The 6 men of Qinghu Island looked at each other and exchanged glances. Their eyes were filled with determination. Ha ha! Yuan Liufeng's voice suddenly became loud. You want to search? No one has ever dared to search me, Yuan Lufeng. We said there's no map, so there's no map. As for searching? We are the law-enforcing elders of Qinghu Island. It's not your turn to search us. Elder Hu said coldly. The 6 enforcement elders appeared to be very decisive. Everyone here, these 6 men of Qinghu Island are seeking death, Ying Haojiang said. Yuan Lufeng, if you continue to resist, prepare to die. The 5 men of Shooting Sun God Mountain took out their godly bows at the same time. If you continue to resist, die. The men of Xiao Yao Palace were cold and emotionless. Yuan Lufeng, it's not too late to regret. The 11 Arhats of Mani Temple raised their purple-red iron rods. The innate experts were ready to attack. Without hesitation. If you continue to resist, you will be killed. Even the men of Qinghu Island would be killed without hesitation. After all, the men here represented the 6 supreme sects of the land of the 9 prefectures. And even the Mani Temple. Even if these people were killed, Qinghu Island wouldn't know. Even if they knew the truth, Qinghu Island wouldn't know. They wouldn't dare to take revenge. Qinghu Island dared to challenge the Mani Temple, the Ying family, and the other sects? They were seeking death. Humph. Yuan Lufeng humphed and waved his right hand behind him. Phew. 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 The other 5 men of Qinghu Island gritted their teeth and withdrew their innate true origin. Almost at the same time, they fled far away. Kill. Ying Haojiang shouted. Kill. The leader of the Shooting Sun God Mountain shouted. Kill. 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 Almost at the same time, a series of shouts sounded. The Golden Dan innate experts instantly dashed out. The fastest were the 5 honorables of the Shooting Sun God Mountain. Phew. 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 5 dark red arrows shot towards the 5 men of Qinghu Island at a terrifying speed. Phew! Ting Qingshan instantly performed the 2nd level of Crossing Worlds. The strength of his body exploded as he shot out like a sharp arrow. That elder who is so powerful. Ting Qingshan could clearly see that out of the 5 arrows shot by the Shooting Sun God Mountain, 4 were actually intercepted by Elder Hu was running at the back. The only arrow pierced through the back of an innate expert of Qinghu Island. The speed of the arrow was so fast that the true Dan innate expert couldn't block it in time. The instant the arrow pierced through the back of the true Dan innate expert, there was an explosion. With a bang, a huge hole appeared on the back of the true Dan innate expert. 1 man of Qinghu Island died. The arrow that Elder Hu didn't intercept should have been shot by a Golden Dan innate expert. Ting Qingshan's speed was extremely fast as he chased after the innate expert who was running in front. Kill! Kill them! Almost instantly, the 3 Golden Dan innate experts, led by Ying Haojiang, surrounded Yuan Lufeng, who was running at the back. The reason why Yuan Lufeng was at the back was actually to obstruct the enemies. If he didn't stop the true Dan innate experts, he would stop the Golden Dan innate experts. Unfortunately, Yuan Liufeng's strength was limited. He couldn't do anything as he was entangled by the 3 Golden Dan innate experts. On the side of the major sects, there were still many experts. So many Golden Dan innate experts. This is bad. Elder Hu saw that the situation was bad and his speed suddenly increased. Elder Hu, who was behind the 3 true Dan innate experts, quickly overtook them and ran to the front. Run quickly. Scatter and run. In foggy weather, when the visibility was limited, the cars had to drive slowly. If they were fast, accidents would happen. It was the same for these innate experts. The glow of the innate true origin on the surface of their bodies could only illuminate an area of about 10 zhang. With their speed, they could rush over in the blink of an eye. Because the visibility was too limited, if they suddenly saw a wall in front of them, if that was the case, they would probably crash into it before they could even react. The worst thing was, the men of Qing Hu Island restrained their innate true origin so that they wouldn't be discovered. They were risking their lives anyway. As for the Golden Dan innate experts behind, because they couldn't see, they didn't dare to go at full speed when they chased. Otherwise, with the extreme speed of the Golden Dan innate experts, if they suddenly saw a wall, they would probably crash into the wall before they could react. The impact of the extreme speed would cause serious injuries even if they didn't die. But Ting Qingshan was different. In the pitch-black environment, he could use his speed to his heart's content. Trying to escape? Ting Qingshan noticed that one of the men of Qing Hu Island had fled into the side of the road. Because it was pitch-black, no one noticed him. However, Ting Qingshan noticed him. Ting Qingshan immediately turned into the side of the road. The distance between them was only about 5 zhang. Xiao! A flying knife suddenly shot out. The flying knife was like a bolt of lightning. It was too fast. The true Dan innate expert, who was fleeing with all his might, reacted and dodged to the side. Pucci! The flying knife still pierced into the body of the Golden Dan innate expert and exploded due to the innate true origin emitted from the man's skin. Although he was injured, he was still running. Humph, still running? Ting Qingshan watched this scene indifferently. Because there was a wall about 10 zhang in front of the true Dan innate expert. It was a dead end. Ting Qingshan could see it, but the man couldn't. Without the light of the innate true origin, he could only see 1 zhang. That's a concealed weapon expert. Run. I must run further away. The man sped up. When he saw a wall appear in his sight, he could only see 1 zhang. With his speed, he didn't even have time to react. Pathetic. Ting Qingshan watched helplessly. Bang! A deep and violent collision sounded. The true Dan innate expert smashed into the wall like a piece of tofu. Blood splattered everywhere as he fell to the ground. One died from a collision. Ting Qingshan knew clearly that the impact of this speed was no less than the impact of falling from a cliff that was hundreds of zhang high. Screams came from afar. The sounds of fighting also came continuously. Death has begun, Ting Qingshan murmured. P.S. 2 chapters finished. An innate expert that died from a collision. Tomato estimated that the speed was at least 300 to 400 yards per hour. It should be as fast as a supercar. Crashing into a hard wall at this speed? Wah. Chapter 219. The Map of the Maze. Ting Qingshan immediately squatted down and tore the green cloak of the corpse, taking out the items from the arms of the law-enforcing elder of Qing Hu Island. Ting Qingshan scanned the items and grabbed the small package wrapped in animal skin. The innate experts of Qing Hu Island went to the bottom of the lake, so they must have been worried that the map would be ruined by the water. It must be in the package wrapped in animal skin. Ting Qingshan opened the package, and besides some silver notes, there was also a rather thick folded piece of paper. What? The paper was completely unfolded. It really is the map of the maze. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened, and he immediately looked at it carefully. This maze is much more complicated than I thought. If I don't have a map and walk around randomly, I won't be able to walk out. I don't know when I will be able to walk out of this maze. It's not right. Ting Qingshan's face suddenly became very ugly. Oh no. Ting Qingshan suddenly turned around and dashed out. At the same time, He quickly put the map of the maze into his arms. When he reached the fork in the road, Ting Qingshan saw many Golden Dan innate experts surrounding Yuan Lufeng about 30 zhang away. Yuan Liufeng's cloak was full of blood, and his hair was disheveled. He looked like he had gone crazy. Ha ha! If you want to kill me, then die with me. Yuan Lufeng, who was determined to die, caused the people surrounding him to be very careful. As a Golden Dan innate expert ranked in the heavenly ranking, although he was not as strong as Gu Yong and Zhao Danshan, he was still very strong. If he risked his life, he could definitely drag 1 or 2 Golden Dan innate experts to death with him. Brother Qin Lang, there was such a loud bang in the alley over there just now. Did you kill an elder of Qing Hu Island? There were many innate experts in the alley, and many of them greeted Ting Qingshan. There are sounds of fighting ahead. Ting Qingshan ignored them and ran to another fork in the road. In an alley on the side of the fork, 3 experts were surrounding and killing a law-enforcing elder of Qing Hu Island. The law-enforcing elder was in a difficult situation. There were many wounds on his body, and blood flowed continuously. Even his right leg was broken. He could only lean against the wall and fight for his life. Stop struggling. The 3 innate experts would rather waste more time than fight the law-enforcing elder of Qing Hu Island. Haha, Xiao Yao Palace, Snow Hawk Hall, you 3 bastards, even if I die, I won't let you off. The elder with the broken leg roared. The surface of the long saber in his hand flowed with a cold black light. Every slash of the saber brought with it a strong whistling sound in the air, forming several air blades that hit the surrounding walls. Unfortunately, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. With a strange slash, the other leg of the Qing Hu Island elder was also chopped off. Puff! With both of his legs broken, the elder could not help but fall to the ground. However, his eyes were red as he held the saber in his hand, which was glowing with a black light, and did not give up on attacking. Stop! Ting Qingshan rushed into the alley and shouted. He threw the flying knife in his hand. A cold light streaked across the sky. Clang! The flying knife collided with the long sword of the expert of Xiao Yao Palace, deflecting the sword. The 3 people surrounding the Qing Hu Island elder could not help but retreat. They frowned and looked at Ting Qingshan, who was running over with dissatisfaction. The purple-cloaked man of Xiao Yao Palace frowned and shouted, Qin Lang, what are you doing? The men of Qing Hu Island are running around recklessly. It's hard to stop one. You still want to save him? Keep him alive. Ting Qingshan said hurriedly, the map of the maze didn't show where the treasure is. What? The 3 people froze. Qin Lang, what did you say? The 3 people were slightly confused. Ha ha! The elder with the broken legs of Qing Hu Island laughed wildly when he heard this. Do you think that you can find Emperor Yu's treasure by killing us? Ha ha, dream on! Dream on! At this moment, a roar came from not far away. Die! All of you die! It was Yuan Liufeng's voice. Ah! 2 screams sounded consecutively. The screams even reached the fork in the road. Ting Qingshan and the others turned their heads and saw a figure dashing towards Ting Qingshan and the others. Yuan Lufeng. Ting Qingshan's facial expression changed drastically and he immediately retreated. The 3 innate experts of Xiao Yao Palace and Snow Hawk Hall could not see Yuan Lufeng. When Yuan Lufeng appeared at the fork, the 3 people did not see him. When the distance between them was only 10 zhang, the 3 people panicked. Run! The 3 people did not dare to resist and turned to run. Ha ha, die! His face was ferocious, his hair was disheveled, and his whole body was covered in blood. His left arm was broken, and there was a scar on his face. One of his eyes was blind. This was the current Yuan Lufeng. 3 lightning-fast swords. Extremely fast. Ah! Continuous screams sounded. Pucci! A wound was left on Yuan Liufeng's body. 2 dead, 1 injured. Yuan Liufeng's sword was fast, but it was not fast enough to kill 3 people at the same time. Killing 2 at the same time was already his limit. Yuan Lufeng. The 3 Golden Dan innate experts chased from behind, but Yuan Lufeng did not care about them. After killing the 2 true Dan innate experts, he continued to chase after Ting Qingshan. In his eyes, the Qin wolf in front of him must be killed. Qin wolf? Yuan Lufeng stared at Ting Qingshan, who was fleeing in front of him with his only eye. Die. Ting Qingshan exerted all his strength, and every step he took caused the ground to tremble. With the help of the crossing world, Ting Qingshan's speed was indeed astonishing. Unfortunately, Yuan Lufeng, who was a Golden Dan innate expert, was even more astonishing when he risked his life. 3 Golden Dan innate experts besieging Yuan Lufeng. How can I let him escape? Ting Qingshan fled with all his might. Too fast. His speed is too fast. No matter how fierce Ting Qingshan was, he was only an emptiness Dan innate expert. With the help of the crossing world and his physical strength, his speed could only be compared to a true Dan innate expert. At most, he would be slightly faster, but compared to a Golden Dan innate expert, he was still far behind. 30 zhang, 20 zhang. The distance between the two was shrinking at a speed that made Ting Qingshan hold his breath. No. Ting Qingshan flipped his hand and threw a flying knife. Clang! The sharp sword in Yuan Liufeng's hand easily blocked the flying knife. With a pring sound, the flying knife turned into powder. Yuan Lufeng was not injured at all. Qin Wolf, go die. Yuan Lufeng hated this person named Qin Wolf. If it wasn't for him, how could Qinghu Island have lost so many people? The long sword in his hand was very casual and ordinary. It was like stabbing a piece of tofu without any whistling sound. It was a very ordinary sword. But this sword made Ting Qingshan's scalp tingle, as if there was a thorn in his back. The speed was so fast that Ting Qingshan didn't have time to dodge. Ah! Ting Qingshan roared, and the bones in his body instantly shrunk by one size. Puchi! The sword that was originally aimed at Ting Qingshan's heart on his back was pierced into his shoulder, because Ting Qingshan's body instantly shrunk. The sharp sword quickly pierced through Ting Qingshan's dark steel heavy armor and pierced into his shoulder. Simultaneously, the innate true origin on the sharp sword burst forth. Bang! Ting Qingshan used the force to flee, but blood flowed out from his shoulder. Why is his shoulder so hard? Yuan Liufeng's only eye showed a hint of shock and confusion. Normally, after piercing through the heavy armor, it would be very easy for the sword to pierce into the muscles. However, when the sword pierced into Ting Qingshan's shoulder, it was like piercing into dark steel. The burst of innate true origin only caused the wound to become slightly bigger. It didn't achieve the effect of exploding half of his body. His body is comparable to dark steel? Yuan Lufeng couldn't believe it. Suddenly, a silent arrow was shot from afar. When Yuan Lufeng realized it, the sharp arrow was already 10 zhang away, and he didn't have time to dodge. Instantly, the sharp arrow pierced through Yuan Liufeng's head. Boom! With an explosion, Yuan Liufeng's headless body collapsed. Phew! Ting Qingshan fell to the ground in exhaustion. The 3 of you actually let Yuan Lufeng escape here? From the alley in front of Ting Qingshan, a few figures walked over. They were the Golden Dan innate experts who went to chase after Elder Hu. The one walking in the front was a strong man with 4 braids and a godly bow in his hand. Don't talk about it. Elder Shi of Xiao Yao Palace was almost killed by Yuan Lufeng. Ing Haojiang shook his head and said, Yuan Liufeng's sword art is indeed powerful. If we really fought him with our lives, at least one of us would have died. The purple-cloaked elegant man of Xiao Yao Palace's chest was dyed red. It's okay now. Just a light injury. How many of us died? 4 true Dan innate experts died. 1 from Snow Hawk Hall, 1 from Xiao Yao Palace, 1 from my Ying family, and 1 from Hong Tian City. They all died in the hands of Yuan Lufeng. Ying Haojiang sighed. He glanced at Ting Qingshan and asked, Brother Qinlang, are you okay? Ting Qingshan sat on the ground and leaned against the wall. I'm okay. Fortunately, the arrow came quickly and killed Yuan Lufeng. At this moment, Ting Qingshan was still scared. The difference between the Golden Dan innate experts, True Dan innate experts, and Emptiness Dan innate experts were very big. Yuan Liufeng's sword art is the same as Teacher's. It doesn't cause any air resistance. As a result, the speed of his sword art is twice as fast as a True Dan innate expert. Oh my god, it's twice as fast. I couldn't even defend myself. Ting Qingshan smiled bitterly. He couldn't block that sword at all. When the sword was extremely fast, the air resistance was very shocking. Once there was no air resistance, the speed of the sword would increase by a lot. In addition, the Golden Dan innate expert's true origin was very strong. Therefore, the speed of his sword art was almost twice as fast. Twice as fast. He couldn't block it in time. He couldn't move his body in time. He could only shrink his body in an instant to save his life. He wants to kill a Golden Dan innate expert. If I let a True Dan innate expert attack, I can only use a group attack. With the speed of his sword art, if 5 or 6 True Dan innate experts attack him at the same time, there is still hope for him to succeed. Ting Qingshan understood that if a True Dan innate expert met a Golden Dan innate expert, he would definitely die. Where's the map of the maze? Take it out quickly, Ying Haojiang ordered. A large group of innate experts had already gathered in the alleyway. P.S. Chapter 1 is here. Chapter 220. Someone immediately went to get the map of the maze. Brother Wang, did you guys manage to catch Elder who escaped from Qinghu Island? Ying Haojiang turned to look at the expert of the Shooting Sun God Mountain. The strong man with 4 braids shook his head and said, He ran the fastest and didn't care about his life. We only chased him for 2 forks before we couldn't find him. We didn't dare to run around, so we turned back. When we turned back, we saw Yuan Lufeng trying to kill Brother Qinlang. In this battle, out of the 47 experts who had joined forces, 4 True Dan innate experts died, and a few were injured. On the side of Qinghu Island, out of the 6 experts, 2 escaped. Golden Dan innate experts can eliminate air resistance. Just this alone is more powerful than True Dan innate experts. Ting Qingshan sighed. At the same time, the muscles on his shoulder contracted. Bits of flesh and blood flowed out of the wound. After that, the wound on Ting Qingshan's shoulder stopped bleeding. Ting Qingshan moved his left shoulder and said, The sword pierced the human body and the innate true origin exploded in the body. This move is very sinister. Luckily, it was the shoulder that was pierced. Yes, I can still use 70% of my strength. There's another one here. Why didn't you kill him? A large group of innate experts looked at the expert of Qinghu Island who had lost both of his legs and was sitting on the ground. Brother Qinlang said to keep him alive. The elder of Snow Hawk Hall, who had escaped from Yuan Liufeng's sword, covered his abdomen and said, Brother Qinlang said that the map of the maze didn't show the location of the treasure. There isn't. Ying Haojiang and the other Golden Dan innate experts surrounded them. The fat monk of Mani Temple frowned and said, The map of the maze on Yuan Liufeng's body doesn't show the location of the treasure. The 2 maps of the maze didn't show the location of the treasure. Brother Qinlang, where's the map you got? Many people looked at Ting Qingshan. Ting Qingshan shook his head and said, I realized that the map didn't show the location of the treasure. That's why I asked to keep him alive. The experts of the various sects were worried as they stared at the man who had lost both of his legs. Elder Wenqian, you should just speak and suffer less. Ying Haojiang stared at him. Everyone stared at him. The law-enforcing elder of Qinghu Island, Wenqian, had bloodstains on his face. He glanced at the people around him and sneered, Ha ha! You idiots! The map of the labyrinth is too complicated for our brains to remember. Everyone carried a map of the labyrinth, for fear of losing it. However, the location of the treasure was only a dot on the map. I can remember them all. Haha, the island master is very thoughtful. Even if you guys snatch the map, don't even think about knowing where the treasure is. When Qian laughed crazily, blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth as he said, "You want to get the treasure? You want to snatch the treasure from Qinghu Island? Haha, dream on." With that said, he suddenly shook his head. Bang! His head slammed into the wall beside him, and blood gushed out. Arg! The 40 inborn experts present wanted to stop him, but it was too late. All they could do was watch the man commit suicide. Phew! One of the black-clothed law enforcers of the Ying family immediately bent down and found a map from Elder Wenqian's bosom. He opened it and looked at it carefully. He turned around and helplessly shook his head at the crowd. There's no treasure location either. Everyone had expected this, so they shook their heads helplessly. Qinghu Island has prepared for this. The fat monk of the Mani Temple looked at the crowd and said, "Everyone, there's no treasure location on the map. What should we do? There are only a few copies of the map. Those who don't have a map, make a copy first." There were so many people present. Although no one brought a pen, they still had a lot of paper. Because clothes could be used as paper. As for pens, they just needed to take some silver, sharpen it with a sharp sword, dip it in blood, and then draw a map. Soon, everyone who wanted a map made a copy. Ting Qingshan had seized the map, so he didn't need to make a copy. Everyone looked at the map and guessed where the treasure could be. Alright, everyone has a map of the labyrinth. Elder Shur of Xiao Yao Palace smiled faintly and said, "The route of the labyrinth is complicated. I think all the sects have their own ideas. I think we should all go our own way. Whoever wants to go can go that way. Who can get Emperor Yu's treasure depends on luck. We, the Mani Temple, will go first," the fat monk said. The 11 innate experts of the Mani Temple were the first to leave. Soon, the men of Xiao Yao Palace also left. The men of the Shooting Sun God Mountain were the third group. "Brother Qinlang, we are leaving. Do you want to go with us?" The white-cloaked young man, Lu Xiu, said. The other 3 innate experts also looked at Ting Qingshan. "Which way do you want to go?" Ting Qingshan asked. "Take the left fork, then the back alley," Lu Xiu said. Ting Qingshan shook his head and smiled. "No need. You guys go first. You will be at a disadvantage if you go alone." Lu Xiu tried to persuade him. "Lu Xiu, if you don't want to go, we will go first. Brother Qinlang probably wants to try his luck and get the treasure. Let's not disturb him," the old man, Zhong Lilin, said. The green-cloaked woman, Shui Fei, and the young man, Bailey Hong, looked at Lu Xiu with dissatisfaction. Zhong Lilin, Shui Fei, Bailey Hong, and Lu Xiu were all famous in the land of the 9 prefectures. However, the name Qinlang was not famous. Naturally, the relationship between the 4 of them was better. Lu Xiu glanced at Ting Qingshan and shook his head helplessly. "Let's go." Groups of people left, but Ting Qingshan kept his head down and looked at the map of the maze. After a while, only Ting Qingshan was left in the alley. Do they think that they will succeed just because they chose a path that they think is correct? Ting Qingshan shook his head and smiled. The experience he gained as an assassin in his previous life was indeed helpful. The probability of them finding the treasure is less than 1%. Ting Qingshan smiled and looked at the map. Actually, it is not impossible to find the path to the treasure by looking at this maze map. Firstly, the entrance of the palace is definitely the correct path. The starting point of the path to the treasure was the entrance of the palace. Ting Qingshan was certain of this. Emperor, you spent so much effort to build such a palace and such a complicated maze. The path to the treasure can't be simple. It must be in a small area of the maze. Otherwise, wouldn't the other areas be useless? Therefore, the correct path should cover more than half of the palace. This is the second point. Thirdly, without a map, it will be very difficult to find the treasure. Moreover, the path must be unique. Therefore, there should only be one route that leads to this location. Other routes will not be able to reach it. According to these 3 points, Ting Qingshan was filtering. There were 3 alleys at the entrance of the palace. Each of the 3 alleys had a fork. One of the forks only lasted for a few dozen zhang before it became a dead end. The short path must be wrong. The path covered a small area. It must be wrong. The location on the path could be reached by other paths. It must be wrong. If I exclude all the paths, there won't be many paths that fit these criteria. At least, there aren't many paths. I can test them one by one. Ting Qingshan was experimenting with a purpose. With his speed, he could go through several paths within an hour. He kept searching and filtering. The search and selection process would take a long time. In the pitch-black alleys, besides Yuan Lufeng and the other corpses, Ting Qingshan was the only living person squatting there. He looked at the map and searched. In the afternoon, the sun was high up in the sky. Jiangning County City, at the north gate of the Guiyuan sect. A sergeant of the Black Armored Corps quickly dismounted from a cyan mane treading on Snow Horse. "Big Brother Lu, why are you in such a hurry? Help me look after the horse." The sergeant threw the reins and ran inside. Outside the study room of the sovereign of the Guiyuan sect, Zhuge Yuanhong. "Sovereign, Centurion Lu Tong of Commander Ting's personal guard is here to see you." A disciple dressed in green said respectfully. "Let him in." An indifferent voice sounded. Lu Tong ran in and immediately knelt down on one knee. Lu Tong greets the sovereign. "What's the matter?" Zhuge Yuanhong glanced at Lu Tong. Lu Tong said respectfully, "Last night, Commander Ting led our personal guard to his hometown, Tingjia Village in E-City. This morning, all the people of Tingjia Village moved towards Jiangning County City." Zhuge Yuanhong immediately put down the book in his hand and looked at Lu Tong with a frown. Moving over 2,000 people to Jiangning County City was a small matter. Some big salt merchants had over 100 clansmen in their mansions. The servants and guards added up to almost 1,000 people. 2,000 people entering Jiangning County City would be easy to settle down. However, Tingjia Village was fine. Why did they move? Thinking of the army of Qing Hu Island stationed in the Great Yen Mountain, Zhuge Yuanhong felt that something was wrong. That Qing Hu Island wouldn't make a move against ordinary mountain people, right? Zhuge Yuanhong thought to himself. "Sovereign, yesterday, the men of Qing Hu Island captured many hunters in the villages around the Great Yen Mountain. They also captured 3 hunters in Tingjia Village. One of the 3 was Commander Ting's cousin. The other was his uncle, and the other was his father." Lu Tong said hastily, "Last night, his cousin escaped and came back, saying that Qing Hu Island ordered to kill all the hunters they captured. Commander Ting's father and uncle didn't escape. They should be dead." Zhuge Yuanhong's face darkened. Qing Hu Island. Zhuge Yuanhong was so angry that he slammed the table. This morning, the entire village moved. It's only a distance of 300 li and over 2,000 people. It would probably take 4 days to arrive. As for this subordinate, I just set off this morning and rushed here alone to report to Sovereign." Lu Tong said hastily, "Sovereign, Commander Ting entered the Great Yen Mountain alone." Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes widened. "What? Qingshan entered the Great Yen Mountain alone? Nonsense." Zhuge Yuanhong was very clear about the situation in the Great Yen Mountain. It was fine if the army of Qing Hu Island was there, but the experts of the various sects in the land of the 9 prefectures would probably be there. When he thought of Ting Qingshan being there alone, Zhuge Yuanhong felt slightly worried. "Little Tai!" Zhuge Yuanhong shouted. "Sovereign!" The green-clothed disciple bowed. "Pass down the order." Let the 3,000 soldiers of the 1st and 2nd Division of the Black Armored Corps bring their war horses and weapons and gather at the training ground immediately. Go quickly. There can be no delay. Zhuge Yuanhong shouted. Yes. The green-clothed disciple rarely saw the sovereign so anxious. He didn't dare to slack off and quickly ran towards the barracks of the Black Armored Corps. For this matter, I'll have to ask Elder Yin to accompany me. Zhuge Yuanhong was very clear about how serious the situation in the Great Yen Mountain was. He had already expected that, under the charm of Emperor Yu's treasure, it was normal for the innate experts to kill each other. Ting Qingshan was like a small boat in the middle of the ocean. He could lose his life at any moment. Phew! Zhuge Yuanhong immediately stood up and said, Lu Tong, you can leave first. Simultaneously, he grabbed his weapon and strode out. He went to find Elder Yin. Chapter 221. Seeing Sovereign Zhuge Yuanhong leave, Lu Tong ran out as well. The message has been sent. Lord Commander wants me to buy 2 large mansions, food, and renovate the mansions. These things must be done within 3 days. With this thought in mind, he quickly ran towards the north gate of the Guiyuan sect. Jiangning County City, Ting Mansion, under a pavilion. Ting Qinghu, Zhuge Qing, and Zhuge Yun were gathered together. Don't worry, big brother Qinghu. Nothing will happen to Tingjia village. Zhuge Qing comforted. Ting Qinghu frowned and shook his head. You don't understand. If it wasn't an urgent matter, Qingshan wouldn't have rushed back without notifying me. It must be very urgent. Also, the maid said that people came to my home yesterday. Qingshan and Qingyu immediately led the bodyguards back. It's my fault. It's my fault for not being there last night. When the people of Tingjia village came to report last night, Ting Qingshan and Qingyu were there. Therefore, they rushed to Tingjia village overnight and moved the entire clan the next morning. However, Ting Qinghu wasn't there last night. He was a centurion and had a lot of trivial matters to attend to. Unlike Ting Qingshan, who was a commander, nothing happened. At that time, the situation was urgent, so Ting Qingshan didn't have time to find Qinghu and immediately rushed back. This caused Ting Qinghu to still not know what happened to Tingjia village. Big brother Qinghu, I believe there will be a result soon. Zhuge Yun smiled and said, with Qingshan's methods and the bodyguards, nothing can stop him. Yes, thinking of Qingshan's strength, Ting Qinghu felt slightly relieved. At this moment, the 3 heard the intense footsteps and couldn't help but turn their heads. They saw Lu Tong running towards them. Ting Qinghu's eyes immediately lit up. Lu Tong. Ting Qinghu stood up. Qinghu. Lu Tong hastily ran over as well. He and Ting Qinghu were both centurions. Of course, Lu Tong was the centurion of Ting Qinghu's personal guard, so his status was slightly higher. Lu Tong, didn't you go with Qingshan to my hometown, Tingjia village? Tell me, what happened to Tingjia village? Ting Qinghu's face was filled with anxiety. Beside him, Zhuge Yun and Zhuge Qing were also looking at Lu Tong. Lu Tong hastily said, Qinghu, people from your hometown came last night. They said that Qingshan's first uncle, Ting Qinghao, and Qingshan's father were there. He was captured by the men of Qinghu Island. So, Qingshan and Qingyu hurried back immediately. What? The men of Qinghu Island? Ting Qinghu widened his eyes in disbelief. How can they be so shameless? Zhuge Yun also said angrily. I heard that the men of Qinghu Island are in the Great Yen Mountain. But how did they capture the hunters in the mountain? Lady Qing was also anxious. Lu Tong continued, they didn't just capture the men of Tingjia village. They also captured many hunters from the villages around the Great Yen Mountain. When we rushed to Tingjia village overnight, we received news. Ting Qinghao luckily escaped back to Tingjia village. At the same time, he told us that Qinghu Island ordered to kill all the captured hunters. Ting Yongxiang and Qingshan's father are both dead. First uncle? And Uncle Fan? They're all dead? Ting Qinghu's face turned pale. Yes. This morning, the entire Tingjia village and all the villagers moved towards Jiangning County City. I rushed here early this morning and just went to tell the sovereign. The commander also told me to buy 2 large mansions, renovate the houses, and buy many tools for the entire village to live in, Lu Tong said. Qinghu, there are many things to do. I'll be busy first. Settling down over 2,000 people was very troublesome. Wait. Ting Qinghu grabbed Lu Tong and asked, Qingshan, where is Qingshan? Ting Qinghu knew his brother's temper very well. Father died? What would happen to Ting Qingshan? He entered the Great Yen Mountain, Lu Tong said. Entered the Great Yen Mountain? Zhuge Qing's ruddy face suddenly became pale. As expected, Qingshan. Ting Qinghu was also anxious. Lu Tong said, just now, the sovereign ordered the 1st and 2nd troops of the Black Armored Corps to bring their war horses and weapons to the training ground. With this, Lu Tong left quickly. How did things turn out like this? Ting Qinghu couldn't believe it. Although he expected something big to happen, he didn't expect something like this to happen. Big Brother Ting, he entered the Great Yen Mountain. There are so many experts of Qing Hu Island in the Great Yen Mountain. This. Zhuge Qing's pale face was filled with anxiety. At this moment, a figure quickly rushed in from outside. Lord Ting, the sovereign ordered all troops of the 1st and 2nd troops to bring their war horses, weapons, and armor to the training ground without delay. The Black Armored Corps soldier said urgently. Lord Ting, hurry up. This subordinate will leave first. The soldier seemed to be in a hurry and left immediately after he finished speaking. When Ting Qinghu heard this, he immediately rushed back to his house. Brother, to the training ground, Lady Qing said urgently. Let's go. Zhuge Yun and his sister left the Ting residence quickly and rushed to the training ground of the Guiyuan sect. On the training ground, the Black Armored Corps soldiers who were leading their armored horses quickly gathered. Because almost all the soldiers lived in the barracks, the speed of gathering was extremely fast. When Zhuge Yun and his sister hurried to the training ground, more than 90% of the soldiers had already gathered. Some of the idle soldiers or the commandant and other high-ranking members of the Black Armored Corps, who lived outside, gathered a bit slower. Father is over there. Lady Qing saw her father immediately. The sect leader, Zhuge Yuanhong, who wore a loose white robe and had his long hair draped loosely over his shoulders, carried a long sword on his back as he stood on the high platform at the southernmost part of the drill grounds. Beside him was Enforcement Elder Yen Mo Tian. The Guiyuan sect had a total of 2 Golden Dan innate experts. One was Zhuge Yuanhong, and the other was Yen Ma Tian. Father! Zhuge Qing ran over anxiously. When Zhuge Yuanhong saw his daughter and son running over from the crowd, he couldn't help but frown. Father, are you guys heading to the Great Yen Mountain? Zhuge Qing asked anxiously. Father, is Martial Brother Qingshan all right? Zhuge Yun asked. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at his children and shouted, Father doesn't have time to accompany you too. Yun, take Qing away from the training ground. Zhuge Yun froze and turned to look at his sister. Father! Zhuge Qing's eyes immediately turned red. She bit her lips and tears flickered in her eyes as she said, I know you guys are in such a hurry. The Great Yen Mountain is definitely very dangerous, and Big Brother Ting is definitely in danger. No matter what, I must go with you. Father, take me with you. Nonsense. Zhuge Yuanhong was annoyed. Yun, take Qing away. Zhuge Yun was a bit hesitant, but he still reached out to pull his sister. Let me go. Lady Qing suddenly swung her hand and stared at her father with a pair of tearful eyes. Father, Big Brother Ting must be in a life-threatening situation. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so anxious. Even if you don't take me with you, I will go by myself. No one can stop me. Seeing this, Zhuge Yuanhong couldn't help but feel a headache. His daughter was very obedient, but once she became stubborn, even 8 horses couldn't pull her back. Okay. Quickly go put on your light armor. Follow father. Zhuge Yuanhong could only compromise. But you must remember one thing. Don't run around. You must stay by father's side. If his daughter went by herself, who knew what would happen? It would be much safer to take her with him. Zhuge Qing was overjoyed and nodded. Yes, yes. Under the leadership of the 2 Golden Dan innate experts, Zhuge Yuanhong and Yan Matian, the great army of the Gui Yuan sect rapidly rushed to the Great Yen Mountain. In the underground of the Great Yen Mountain, inside the Heavenly Flood Palace, in the pitch-black maze, Ting Qingshan was squatting in the passageway, looking at the map of the maze and calculating carefully. After filtering, 99% of the routes have to be eliminated. There are 32 routes with the highest possibility. There are a total of 13 routes with the highest possibility. Ting Qingshan pondered for less than an hour and finally eliminated them one by one, selecting the routes that he needed. The 13 routes that Ting Qingshan thought had the highest possibility all passed through more than half of the Heavenly Flood Palace. Moreover, there were no other ways to reach the destination. There's no other way. I can only try them one by one. There were only a few routes, so Ting Qingshan could afford to waste time trying them. If he tried them like the other sects, he wouldn't be able to succeed even after 10 days or half a month. Yes, I can reach a central point from here. This central point connects 4 of the 13 routes. Ting Qingshan held the map of the maze in his hand and immediately sped up. He transformed into a black shadow and moved through the passageway of the maze like a ghost in the night. According to the route, he turned left, turned right. After running for about 10 li, Ting Qingshan suddenly stopped. Ting Qingshan's ears pricked up. Elder Hu, is your injury okay? It's not a big deal. We have to meet up with Marshal Uncle as soon as possible. Go, turn left at the next fork. Ting Qingshan's hearing was extremely sensitive. Although the other party's voice wasn't loud, Ting Qingshan still heard it. They are about 6 to 7 zhang to my left. Ting Qingshan immediately opened the map of the maze and looked at it. They are here. A smile appeared on Ting Qingshan's face as he thought to himself, they actually followed this route? Then, the routes that lead to the treasure. Out of the 32 routes that have the highest possibility, only 2 are possible. Although Qing Hu Island's elder, who was in the passageway 6 to 7 zhang away. But, with the wall between them, Ting Qingshan couldn't fly out at all. There was only one way, turn back. Ting Qingshan quickly turned back and increased his speed to the limit. If it was someone else, even if they found Elder Hu and Elder Hu there, it would be useless. This was because the passageway that Elder Hu and Elder Hu were in could lead to many places. However, Ting Qingshan had already filtered out a lot of places. After filtering out the passageway, there were only 2 routes left. The darkness didn't affect Ting Qingshan at all. His ghost-like figure flashed in the passageway, moving forward continuously. He made a big circle and chased after them again. Fortunately, Ting Qingshan's speed was much faster than Elder Hu and Elder Hu. After all, Elder Hu and Elder Hu weren't running for their lives now. If they were too close, they would obviously run slower. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Ting Qingshan suddenly heard a series of angry roars. There are angry roars ahead? Only demonic beasts will stay on the correct route. This road map is indeed correct. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. Yes, the roars are less than 1 li away from here. It's very possible that Elder Hu and Elder Hu encountered demonic beasts. Ting Qingshan vaguely felt the location of the roars and continued to move forward. Chapter 222. In the pitch-black Heavenly Flood Palace, Ting Qingshan walked through several alleys as if he was walking in his own courtyard. He was getting closer and closer to the roar. Roar, roar, frenzied and furious roars rang out one after another. The rough and heavy roar sounded like thunder in the maze. The heavenly flood palace, which was only 3 zhang high and was filled with many alleys, caused the roar to echo. It continued to spread. If the distance was slightly further, it would be impossible to determine the location due to the echoes. At the corner, Ting Qingshan stood there, looking at the fierce battle occurring in the alleys 30 zhang away. One of them was the green-cloaked elder Hu. This elder Hu was the one who led the Golden Scale Guards of Qing Hu Island to attack Yanjiang City. However, because Ting Qingshan and Yan Matian arrived quickly, Elder Hu's efforts were in vain. This caused Elder Hu's efforts to be in vain. Good fellow, he actually fought with the white-horned water rhinoceros. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. The demon beast that was fighting with Elder Hu was about 2 zhang, 5 meters, tall and 4 zhang, 10 meters, long. Such a huge monster's entire body was as white as a rock. Thick and tough tendons densely covered its thick and sturdy body, as if a large snake was coiling around the body of this demon beast. A thick and sharp white horn grew on its buffalo-like head, and its eyes glowed with a dark green light. White-horned water rhinoceros, an extremely powerful and rare demonic beast that spends most of its time in the water, can also survive on land. When it reaches its peak, it can threaten Golden Dan innate expert. It is famous for its extraordinary strength and the ability to spit white mist from its mouth. Evil creature! Elder Hu dodged and fluttered like a butterfly, and the 4-chi long sword in his hand turned into a mirage. The white-horned water rhinoceros trampled the ground with its 4 hooves, lowering its hard head as it charged. Occasionally, it would spit out a mouthful of white mist, making it impossible to defend against. Ting Qingshan clearly saw that Elder Hu's sword pierced into the white-horned water rhinoceros's body, but it only pierced about 1 chi deep before it couldn't go any deeper. At the same time, Elder Hu immediately retreated. The white-horned water rhinoceros turned around and spat out a mouthful of white mist. The muscles on this white-horned water rhino's entire body are intertwined. Not only does it have extraordinary strength, it also has a strong defense. Ting Qingshan exclaimed in admiration. This white-horned water rhinoceros did not have hard scales like the red-scaled beast. The white-horned water rhinoceros only had terrifying muscles. Just like ordinary cattle, the beef had a lot of tendons, so it was hard to bite through raw beef. It was the same principle. The white-horned water rhino's body structure was similar to that of an ox. However, the tendons of the white-horned water rhinoceros were thicker and denser than the tendons of beef. The muscles of its entire body were also harder and thicker, although the surface layer could be pierced. But those muscles were too hard. Even if it was a Golden Dan innate expert, his full strength would be exhausted after piercing a foot deep with his sword. Demonic beasts are indeed gifted. Ting Qingshan praised in his heart. Roar! The white-horned aquatic rhinoceros roared as it charged over. Elder Hu, who had just dodged the white mist, was slightly slow in his movement, and was grazed by the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros hooves. Bang! Elder Hu, who was enveloped by the innate true origin, was sent flying, crashing into the wall. The white-horned aquatic rhinoceros, whose entire body was covered in blood, roared angrily and rushed over again. It's so strong. Elder Hu felt a headache. This white-horned aquatic rhinoceros seems to have its eyes on me. It won't let me escape no matter what. Elder Hu didn't want to fight to the death with the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros, but, in the pitch-black environment, the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros, who lived here all year round, could clearly see far. With the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros's speed, which was comparable to a Golden Dan innate expert, and its night vision. Therefore, it could easily catch up to Elder Hu. Elder Hu couldn't escape even if he wanted to. He could only fight. A good chance. 2 flying knives appeared in Ting Qingshan's hands as he stared at the man and the demonic beast in the distance. The current Ting Qingshan was far from being able to kill the Golden Dan innate experts of Qing Hu Island normally. But at this moment, Elder Hu and the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros were fighting fiercely. It was a good chance. Elder Hu, I won't send you off. Ting Qingshan squinted his eyes and waved his left and right hands simultaneously. 2 rays of cold light streaked across the pitch-black space at the same time. To kill this white-horned aquatic rhinoceros with its hard flesh, it can only be done by stabbing its vital points. Elder Hu's clothes were also tattered. After fighting for dozens of rounds, although he wasn't heavily injured, he was sent flying again and again. The shock from the collision made his internal organs feel uncomfortable. But this white-horned aquatic rhinoceros attaches great importance to its vital points. Elder Hu also knew that the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros' vital points were mainly its eyes and neck. But if Elder Hu wanted to attack its vital points, the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros would definitely spit out a mouthful of white mist. Once frozen, even if he didn't die, he would still be heavily injured. He would definitely be bitten into mincemeat by the enraged white-horned aquatic rhinoceros's powerful mouth. Therefore, Elder Hu avoided attacking the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros directly every time because the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros had another vital point. Attack its lower body, stab into its internal organs, and then use the innate true origin to explode its internal organs. This was Elder Hu's plan. It seemed a little shameless, but in a life-and-death situation, how could he care about face? Roar, the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros's intelligence was comparable to that of a human's. How could it let Elder Hu succeed so easily? Phew! The terrifyingly thick hooves swept over like a stone pillar. The powerful hooves caused the air to be compressed into visible ripples. I've hit it 32 times. Although it isn't a vital point, its speed is slowly decreasing. Elder Hu was about to retreat, but his ears suddenly twitched, and his expression changed drastically. 2 ear-piercing whistles brought along violent vibrations in the air as they rapidly approached. Someone's sneak attacking. Elder Hu turned pale with fright. In front of him was the white-horned aquatic rhinoceros's hooves, and behind him were 2 flying daggers. Who is it? Elder Hu roared and forcefully twisted his body. The thick hooves that seemed to be cast from iron slashed across his chest, and the 4-chi long sword in Elder Hu's hand also flashed with a cold light. Clang! Pooh! One of the flying daggers was blocked, and the other one pierced into Elder Hu's thigh. Amazing! In the distant darkness, Ting Qingshan praised in his heart. To be able to use the Golden Dan of the innate realm to control space in such a short period of time. To dodge the hooves and block one of my flying daggers, I was only hit by one of the daggers. That wasn't the vital point. This method is too strong. Ting Qingshan also realized something. After throwing the flying dagger, especially when it was near Elder Hu, he was unable to control the trajectory of the flying dagger. That spiritual connection seemed to have been cut off. Golden Dan innate experts are able to control the surrounding space through their powerful mental power and remove air resistance. With such a powerful spirit, it's not strange for it to cut off the mental connection between me and the flying dagger. Ting Qingshan was very clear about this. What they relied on was a strong spirit, which was the spirit of the essence, energy, and spirit. Qin Lang, why did you plot against me? Elder Hu roared in anger. After being stabbed in the leg, Elder Hu's speed decreased sharply. Pung! The injured Elder Hu was too slow in dodging and was hit by the thick hoof on the sword in his hand. The sword was bent and hit Elder Hu's chest. Elder Hu was like a sandbag, smashing into the wall in the distance. The walls of the alley trembled. Boom! The white-horned water rhinoceros charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Elder Hu leaped up and dodged the rhinoceros by a hair's breadth. Qin Lang! Elder Hu roared in anger. This old bastard actually guessed that it was me. Ting Qingshan, who was peeking from the corner, thought to himself, I can only blame myself for using the flying dagger when I joined the group of innate experts. Later on, this old fellow found out. Previously, the innate experts had entered the bottom of the lake together. The men of Qing Hu Island knew most of the people who came. However, they didn't know Qin Lang. Therefore they asked around. The men of the other sects also told them about Ting Qingshan's unique skill with the flying dagger. Elder Hu, blame yourself for recklessly killing the hunters of the Great Yen Mountain. Ting Qingshan mumbled in his heart and shot out another 2 flying daggers. Xiao! Xiao! The higher-ups of Qing Hu Island ordered to kill the 200 hunters that were captured. To them, it was only for the sake of secrecy. As for killing so many hunters, they didn't feel anything. In the eyes of these higher-ups, killing so many hunters was like stepping on a group of ants. However, revenge had come. When Elder Hu's spirit sensed the ripples in the air again, he determined that it was another 2 flying daggers. His facial expression changed. His leg was injured and he had been in danger time and time again. If 2 more flying daggers came, he would definitely die. Elder Hu's face was ferocious as he roared, Qin Lang. Qing Hu Island will definitely take revenge for me. As his roar echoed, he stabbed the white-horned water rhinoceros's throat. He was going to die anyway. Even if he had to die, he would drag one of them down. Roar! The white-horned water rhinoceros wasn't stupid. At this moment, it roared and spat out a white mist while retreating rapidly. Chi! The sword pierced the white-horned water rhinoceros's neck. Chi! Chi! At the same time Elder Hu stabbed, the 2 flying daggers also pierced his body. One pierced his waist and the other pierced his back, entering his chest. Elder Hu's eyes also turned red. Phew! The white mist enveloped Elder Hu. Elder Hu instantly turned into a white iceman. Roar! The white-horned water rhinoceros, whose neck was still bleeding, roared angrily and charged back. Its thick and strong hooves stomped down fiercely, crushing the white iceman into pieces. Roar! The white-horned water rhinoceros raised its head and roared. The bleeding on its neck also slowed down. Fortunately, its skin was thick and it retreated quickly, so it was only heavily injured. It didn't die with Elder Hu. The heavily injured white-horned water rhinoceros turned its head and ran towards the alley. A crimson-red serpent that was only 10 feet to 5 meters long lay in the alley. There were bloodstains on both sides of the walls, as well as small pits that were rapidly recovering. Not far away, the handsome Zhao Danshan was sitting cross-legged, regulating his breathing. Qin Lang. Qing Hu Island will definitely take revenge for me. The angry and sorrowful roar echoed in the Heavenly Flood Palace. The Heavenly Flood Palace had a radius of over 10 li. With the ability of a Golden Dan innate expert, it was very easy for an angry roar to echo over 10 li. Zhao Danshan's facial expression changed. It's Elder Hu's voice. Qin Lang killed Elder Hu? Zhao Danshan's facial expression changed drastically. That Qin Lang is only a true Dan innate expert? Although he didn't understand how Qin Lang could kill Elder Hu, who was a Golden Dan innate expert, Zhao Danshan's heart was filled with killing intent. This Qin Lang opened the entrance to the bottomless pit. Now he killed Elder Hu. Zhao Danshan's eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, I will definitely tear you into pieces. The angry roar of Elder Hu before he died spread throughout the entire Heavenly Flood Palace. The Shooting Sun God Mountain, the Ying family, the Mani Temple, Hong Tian City, Snowhawk Hall, Xiao Yao Palace, and the idle innate experts were all discussing how Qin Lang killed Elder Hu with great interest. These people didn't have the slightest bit of sympathy for this matter. After all, everyone had joined hands to kill a large group of people before. Not only in the Heavenly Flood Palace, but also outside the Heavenly Flood Palace. At the entrance of the palace, Gu Yong and the other 3 who were waiting for news of the treasure heard the angry and sorrowful roar. Qin Lang. Qing Hu Island will definitely take revenge for me. The facial expression of Gu Yong and the other three changed drastically. It's Elder Hu's voice. Gu Yong's junior sister's expression changed drastically. Elder Hu should be dead. Then, a massacre must have occurred inside. I don't know how many of Qing Hu Island's men will survive. Everyone began to worry. That Qin Lang exposed the secret of the bottomless pit's entrance and killed Elder Hu. This bastard must be cut into pieces. The men of Qing Hu Island had long hated Qin Lang to the bone. Gu Yong's face was as gloomy as water. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he said in a deep voice, "This Qin Lang must be killed. And he must die in endless pain." Elder Lu, who had originally left with Elder Hu, encountered the white-horned water rhinoceros. Elder Lu's arm was frozen by the white mist and split open. His right arm could almost be said to be crippled. He would only be a burden if he were there. Therefore, Elder Hu let him go first while Elder Hu fought with the white-horned water rhinoceros. In a dark alley, when the white-horned water rhinoceros turned to chase after him, he was so scared that he hastily ran. However, he couldn't escape in time, so he could only hide in an alley. I definitely can't defeat this white-horned water rhinoceros. Elder Lu stared at the fork in the road. The white-horned water rhinoceros's frightening eyes flashed with a dark green light as it glanced in his direction. It actually followed the correct path and left. It didn't kill me? Elder Lu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Demonic beasts were intelligent. The white-horned water rhinoceros could determine that the human who ran away was very weak and posed no threat to it. It was now heavily injured and needed to heal and recover. It was too lazy to care about these humans. Just when Elder Lu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao! Xiao! Two flying daggers pierced through the air. Elder Lu's ears twitched and his expression changed drastically. He exclaimed, "Qin Lang!" The saber in his left hand turned into a shadow as fast as lightning. Clang! Clang! One of the flying daggers turned into dust. The other flying dagger merely brushed past Elder Lu's body and pierced through the innate true origin light shield on the surface of Elder Lu's body. Blood instantly dyed Elder Lu's robe. "I'm not used to using a saber with my left hand." Elder Lu secretly cursed. The flying daggers were fast, and his body couldn't dodge them in time. However, the speed of his saber was still fast enough. If his right hand hadn't been crippled, he wouldn't have been hit so easily. Rumble, a ferocious figure emerged from the darkness ahead like a demon god. Its speed was extremely fast. Elder Lu clearly saw the other's face and couldn't help but grit his teeth. "Qin Lang. Explode, I want to explode. I hadn't been happy writing for a while, and wasn't happy enough. Today, I spent the entire afternoon thinking about the plot. Finally, the feeling came. I believe that after reading the 2 chapters today, everyone should have some feeling. In the future it will be even more exciting, bloody, and crazy. I want to go crazy too. Last time, with 100 monthly votes, I exploded for an extra day. Tomato exploded for more than 10 consecutive days. This time, it was the same. It was now November 7th, 2332. 1419 monthly votes. Until tomorrow night at midnight, which was November 9th at 00:00. During this period of time, for every 100 monthly votes added, Tomato exploded for a day. For every 1,000 monthly votes, it exploded for 10 days. For every 2,000 monthly votes, it exploded for 20 consecutive days. If a chapter ended and there was a day of rest, then the explosion would naturally be delayed by a day. In short, the explosion definitely wouldn't be delayed by a day. Monthly votes come. Let's go crazy together. Tomato wrote with all his might. How many days Tomato exploded for depended on everyone. If you want to vote, then vote now. Voting method. Just the words recommended author with monthly votes below. Chapter 223. In the pitch-black alleyway, Elder Lu realized that it was Qin Lang who was charging at him. The enraged Elder Lu instantly judged, "This Qin Lang is faster than me. I'm injured now. If I escape, he will definitely continue to attack me with his flying daggers. If this drags on, I will definitely die. I might as well risk it all." In an instant, Elder Lu became calm. He retracted his gaze and held onto his saber with his uninjured left hand. Die! A low roar echoed in the alleyway. Boom! The air exploded. A steel claw tore through the air, bringing with it spatial ripples as it instantly appeared in front of Elder Lu. Clang! The saber perfectly blocked Ting Qingshan's claw. Break! Ting Qingshan's body rose into the air. His right fist was like a dragon emerging from the water, bringing with it an ear-piercing whistle as it punched forward. At first glance, it looked like a sharp spear. This punch was as fast as lightning and as violent as thunder. It left behind a red afterimage as it arrived in front of Elder Lu, and its power suddenly increased. It was as if the air had been pierced by an electric drill. Pung! As if he had smashed into a large drum, Ting Qingshan could not help but take a step back, while Elder Lu drifted back a distance of 10 meters. Ting Qingshan's punch once again failed. The realm of enlightenment? Ting Qingshan's expression changed slightly. Elder Lu's expression was calm. His eyes were like a tranquil deep pool, and the light was completely restrained. The saber in his left hand pointed diagonally to the ground, and the edge of the saber faintly flashed with an icy green light. "Qin Lang, you want to kill me?" Elder Lu said coldly. "You think you can kill me with your puny skills?" Ting Qingshan grinned. "Then take a good look at my skills." In the pitch-black alleyway, an expert shrouded in flames and an expert shrouded in icy green light confronted each other. Boom! Ting Qingshan's trousers were stretched taut, and his powerful right leg stomped on the ground, causing the earth to tremble, while he himself, with the help of the rebound force and the crossing worlds, turned into a fiery red afterimage. The distance of several feet between them was crossed in an instant. Elder Lu, who was in the realm of enlightenment, faced Ting Qingshan's ferocious attack, but his expression did not change. Xiao! It was another seemingly casual slash. The blade chopped down on Ting Qingshan's palm. His right hand, which was wearing the heavenly hawk claw glove, was not damaged at all. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. Elder Lu quickly withdrew his saber. Ting Qingshan's left hand was as fast as lightning as he grabbed Elder Lu's saber. The corner of Elder Lu's mouth curled into a cold smile. The battle blade in his hand very casually collided with Ting Qingshan's left hand, easily withstanding Ting Qingshan's grab. At the same time, Elder Lu's entire body borrowed the force to retreat, but in the instant that he was about to retreat, dragon form, tiger pounce, Ting Qingshan's gaze froze. His left and right arms instantly transformed into a python, rapidly wrapping around Elder Lu's body. Both his legs kicked off fiercely, and he directly pounced over like a tiger. Tiger pounce at close range. Both arms wrapped around him. How could the one-armed Elder Lu dodge? "You're courting death." Elder Lu's expression turned cold. The battle blade in his hand exploded with a glaring, icy green light, slashing towards Ting Qingshan's arms. The corner of Ting Qingshan's mouth curled into a cold smile. "Gotcha!" The sound of bones breaking rang out. Ting Qingshan's hands were like two snakes, wrapping around Elder Lu's single arm, causing Elder Lu's single arm to bend into a strange angle. How is this possible? Elder Lu was stunned. The realm of enlightenment was based on the information one knew, to make the most perfect control. This allowed the battle to be under control. But now, things had exceeded his expectations. Bang! Ting Qingshan's knee struck Elder Lu's abdomen with a high knee strike. In terms of pure strength, the strength of Ting Qingshan's legs surpassed that of his arms. His knee instantly pierced through the innate true origin aura shield, and a strong force passed through his abdomen, instantly destroying Elder Lu's vital Dantian. Once his Dantian was destroyed, Elder Lu was not even comparable to a post-liminary expert. Elder Lu, did you see what I did? Ting Qingshan loosened his grip, and Elder Lu sat on the ground powerlessly. He clutched his abdomen and stared fixedly at Ting Qingshan. How did your arm do that just now? That's impossible. This kind of thing can't possibly happen. Even though his Dantian was destroyed, Elder Lu still did not dare to believe it. Just because the rest of you can't do it doesn't mean that I can't, Ting Qingshan said indifferently. Just now, Elder Lu's strike should not have given Ting Qingshan any opportunity to take advantage of. But Ting Qingshan's two arms seemed to have no bones, and they were bent at a strange angle. Turning the impossible into the possible, he forcefully bypassed the battle blade and wrapped around Elder Lu's arm. He twisted it in half. Before I die, let me tell you a secret. Ting Qingshan grinned. Elder Lu stared. This was because Ting Qingshan's human skin mask had been removed. Elder Lu was so frightened that before he could say anything, a ray of fire shot through his throat. An innate expert with a destroyed Dantian was just an ordinary person. Elder Lu was dead. Boom! Elder Lu fell powerlessly, but his eyes were still filled with fear and disbelief. It was as if he had seen something unbelievable. He did not believe it. He did not believe that the person who was so ruthless to Qing Hu Island and could kill him was actually the 17-year-old Ting Qingshan. Yes, it was Ting Qingshan. Before he died, he saw. Qin Lang was Ting Qingshan. Unfortunately, he could not tell the others. Ting Qingshan put on the human skin mask again. Wrapping and bending my arms? Humph! In terms of body control, even if you innate experts trained for 100 years, you would still not be able to compare to me. Different paths of cultivation determined different achievements. Cultivating inner strength and pursuing innate strength. This path focused on inner strength and innate true origin. However, the path of internal martial arts focused on body control, whether it was the internal organs, the flow of blood, bones, muscles, or skin. In terms of body control, those innate experts were indeed too far behind. In his previous life, Vishnu, one of the three great figures of the Divine Kingdom who fought with Ting Qingshan, was a grandmaster who cultivated the ancient yoga technique to the extreme. He was able to wrap his arms as if they were boneless. In this life, Ting Qingshan's control over his body could be said to have reached an unprecedented peak. In terms of flexibility, he was even stronger than Vishnu. My unique skills of internal martial arts, especially my body's advantage, can only be displayed when I get close to my opponent. But how could a powerful innate expert let me get close to him so easily? Ting Qingshan sighed to himself. It was so troublesome to kill a one-armed Elder Lu. In terms of realm, I am indeed much weaker. In terms of body strength and innate true origin, Ting Qingshan was comparable to a true Dan innate expert. However, in terms of realm, Ting Qingshan was still in the minute subtlety realm. As for the true Dan innate experts, they were either in the realm of enlightenment or the realm of oblivion. Unless he performed an unimaginable move like this time, only then could he kill his opponent. Otherwise, due to the difference in realm, it would be extremely difficult for Ting Qingshan to kill his opponent. With my current strength, it would be very difficult to kill a true Dan innate expert head-on. It would be very difficult, Ting Qingshan thought to himself, although he had killed a few elders of Qing Hu Island with his own hands. One was outside the gate of the Heavenly Flood Palace, where he was ambushed by Ting Qingshan and died unjustly. The other one was facing a large number of pursuers, so he ran around recklessly and bumped into the hard wall built by Emperor Yu and died on the spot. As for Elder Hu, to be more precise, Ting Qingshan used someone else to kill him. As for Elder Lu, he only had one arm. Of course, Ting Qingshan had so many achievements because he used his strength to kill his opponent without any hesitation. As long as he could succeed in killing, it would be fine. When he was strong, he could defeat his opponent head-on. When he was weak, he would be a fool if he dared to challenge his opponent head-on. In the pitch-black alley, the silver-haired handsome man, Zhao Danshan, was advancing silently. After 3 more forks, I will reach the place where the treasure is hidden. Zhao Danshan was extremely excited. So many elders came in this time. I'm afraid that most of the other elders have died. Qinghu Island has sacrificed so much. It's all worth it. As long as I can get Emperor Yu's treasure. Turning around, Zhao Danshan sneered coldly. That bald donkey should be cultivating the extremely mysterious Shiga Heart Sutra of the Mani Temple. Of the 6 great magical powers, he must have cultivated the heavenly eye, heavenly ear, heavenly foot, and mind connection. The Arhat fruit cultivation has reached the culmination stage. It's even harder to get rid of than a wild dog. Zhao Danshan recalled the journey and sighed. The king of beasts Wu Ho was the first to enter the heavenly flood palace. Zhao Danshan and the long-browed old monk entered later. In the beginning, Zhao Danshan purposely took the wrong path because he guessed that the long-browed old monk was following him. With the abilities of the long-browed old monk, who had cultivated the Shiga Heart Sutra, it wasn't hard to follow him silently. Zhao Danshan walked in circles for a long time and tried to get rid of him. Finally, he thought he got rid of him. Therefore, he returned to the right path and advanced. However, he accidentally found out that the long-browed old monk was still following him. The second time, Zhao Danshan spent a lot of effort and finally led the long-browed old monk into a wrong path. Finally, Zhao Danshan laughed proudly 3 times and left. The Mani Temple is indeed the #1 sect. The Shiga Heart Sutra, Maha and many other heaven-class secret scriptures are all mysterious and unpredictable. Zhao Danshan sighed. In the world, no sect could compare to the Mani Temple in terms of the number of secret scriptures. Because, among the 4 omnipotent experts, only martial ancestor Shiga spent all his energy on the sect and created all kinds of magical cultivation method. As for Emperor Yu and the Heavenly Emperor of Qin Mountains, they spent too little energy on the sect. The number of secret scriptures was much lower. Of course, Emperor Yu's hall and the Ying family were still incomparable to the other 5 supreme clans. However, when I have Emperor Yu's treasure, Qinghu Island will definitely become stronger. Zhao Danshan's heart was burning. As he walked to the last corner, Zhao Danshan looked towards the place where the treasure was. There were 2 pearls inlaid on the wall in the middle of the alleyway. The pearls emitted a faint dark green glow, illuminating the surrounding area of over 10 zhang. At the side of the wall there was a staircase leading to the underground. Emperor Yu's treasure is inside. Zhao Danshan was overjoyed. Haha! Zhao Danshan, thank you for your hard work. A hearty laughter sounded. Zhao Danshan turned his head in fear. A silhouette emerged from the darkness. It was the king of beasts Wu Ho. P.S. Here is the first chapter. Now there are 2,305 monthly tickets, an increase of almost 900. There were still 2.5 hours until midnight. It seemed like Tomato would have to explode for at least 9 days. How many days would it take? The increase in monthly tickets was calculated until midnight. If Tomato wants to explode once, then everyone should do the same for their monthly votes. Chapter 224. The faint green light illuminated the surrounding 10 zhang. In the dark corner, Zhao Danshan looked at the king of beasts Wu Ho in disbelief. Impossible! From the beginning to the end, I didn't dare to relax. I probed again and again. I even got rid of the bald donkey who cultivated the Shiga Heart Sutra. I never noticed you. Zhao Danshan's mind was in a mess. Qinghu Island had lost so much just to get Emperor Yu's treasure. If they could get the treasure, all the losses would be worth it. However, at the most crucial moment, the king of beasts Wu Ho appeared. In terms of strength, Wu Ho could easily kill him. The first on the heavenly ranking was undoubtedly strong. Haha! The Shiga Heart Sutra is very mysterious. However, that old monk hasn't cultivated it to a high level. In terms of hiding and tracking, he's much weaker than me. Wu Ho laughed and said. His laughter echoed in the alley, forming complex echoes. I have to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have found this place. The first on the heavenly ranking, and it had been there for over 30 years. The king of beasts Wu Ho was very good at many things. Zhao Danshan was originally panicking, but he quickly regained his composure. No matter what, it had already happened. No matter how painful it was, he had to accept it. All he could do was to try his best to make the situation better. Wu Ho, Zhao Danshan said in a deep voice, Qing Hu Island suffered a great loss because of Emperor Yu's treasure. Brother Wu Ho, you're alone and don't belong to any sect. The treasures in Emperor Yu's treasure aren't very useful to you, Wu Ho. How about this? Emperor Yu's treasure is useful to you. You can choose the best one and take it away. However, if it's beneficial to the development of the sect, please give it to Qing Hu Island. We each take what we need. I can also make the decision. You have 3 chances to ask the Grand Supreme Elder of Qing Hu Island to help you. What do you think? The Grand Supreme Elder is the Blind Sword Master? The King of Beasts Wu Ho asked in surprise. Wu Ho, please be more respectful to the Grand Supreme Elder of Qing Hu Island. Zhao Danshan's face darkened. The Island Lord of Qing Hu Island from over 200 years ago was ranked 2nd on the heavenly ranking and was known as the Heavenly-Eyed Sword Master. However, some people secretly called him the Blind Sword Master. However, it was a little disrespectful to call him Blind Man. No one dared to say it in front of the experts of Qing Hu Island. Later on, the Blind Sword Master attained enlightenment and attained the Emptiness Realm. He lived in seclusion on Qing Hu Island and rarely fought. However, every time he made a move, the experts in the world knew that the Blind Sword Master had reached an unfathomable realm. In the land of the 9 prefectures, there were only a handful of people who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. This Emptiness Realm expert was the reason why Qing Hu Island was able to dominate Yangzhou. An Emptiness Realm expert can help me 3 times? I can choose the best one from the treasures that are useful to me? Wu Ho said with a smile. Yes, the conditions are pretty good. Even I'm a little tempted. Unfortunately, I, Wu Ho, am unmoved by force or persuasion. Even if I can't use Emperor Yu's treasure, I will throw it into the sea rather than give it to Qing Hu Island. Zhao Danshan was so angry that his face turned pale. He pointed at Wu Ho while trembling. Wu Ho, you, me, what about me? Wu Ho sneered. Don't go too far. The Grand Supreme Elder of Qing Hu Island can kill you as easily as stepping on an ant. Zhao Danshan said in a deep voice, let's just take what we need. Isn't this better for everyone? There's no other way. Wu Ho shook his head and sighed. I, Wu Ho, don't like Qing Hu Island. As for the Blind Sword Master, haha, I am indeed no match for an Emptiness Realm expert. However, I, Wu Ho, played in the Desolate Land when I was young. There are only a few people in this world who can kill me. With this, Wu Ho walked towards the entrance of the treasure cave. Zhao Danshan was so angry that his eyes turned red. However, he didn't dare to make a move. It was already good enough that Wu Ho didn't kill him. How could he, Zhao Danshan, fight against Wu Ho? In this alley, a deep roar that could shake one's soul rang out. Wu Ho and Zhao Danshan's facial expressions changed drastically. From the darkness in the depths of the alley, a golden dragon turtle that was 30 feet long crawled out. The end of this alley was a dead end. Actually, this golden dragon turtle would sometimes sleep there. As a dragon turtle, sleeping was its favorite thing to do. This alley was almost 50 zhang long, and the entrance to the treasure was in the middle of the alley. Therefore, the two of them didn't notice the golden dragon turtle. "Oh no!" Wu Hou muttered. "Why is it here? Isn't it at the entrance of the palace?" Zhao Danshan's facial expression changed drastically. The golden dragon turtle crawled leisurely to the entrance of the cave and lay on its stomach. With its 3 zhang long body, it easily blocked the entrance of the cave. A hint of pride could be seen in its glowing green eyes. At the corner, a black figure walked to the corner silently. It was Ting Qingshan, who had followed the predicted route. "The end of this route is in front." Ting Qingshan's heartbeat slowed down to the extreme. He stopped breathing through his nose and mouth and breathed through the pores of his body. With his control over his muscles, every step he took was extremely gentle and silent. In the darkness, Ting Qingshan looked over. Over 20 zhang away, there were 2 pearls embedded in the wall. They emitted a faint dark green glow and illuminated the surrounding 10 zhang. A golden dragon turtle lay there. 2 humans, Zhao Danshan, were standing there while the king of beasts, Wu Hou, was casually sitting and leaning against the wall. At the same time, he was letting out deep roars. Roar, roar, the golden dragon turtle let out 2 roars casually. The 2 humans and 1 beast didn't sense Ting Qingshan's presence. In terms of concealing his aura and tracking, Ting Qingshan was many times stronger than a Golden Dan innate expert. Eh? Zhao Danshan and Wu Hou are here? The golden dragon turtle is here as well? Ting Qingshan instantly deduced many things. The treasure is definitely here. The golden dragon turtle was guarding the treasure, so Wu Hou and Zhao Danshan couldn't do anything. This Zhao Danshan must have a map of the maze. But Wu Hou didn't. Wu Hou must have followed Zhao Danshan all the way here. Ting Qingshan looked at everything silently. "Zhao Danshan, don't look so tense like a dead woman." Wu Hou leaned against the wall and turned his head to look at Zhao Danshan. He smiled and said, "I was chatting with the old dragon turtle just now. This old dragon turtle has lived for almost 10,000 years. It was very happy to chat with me." "You are really bored." Zhao Danshan sneered. "Humph, what do you know?" Wu Hou smiled and said, "We are lucky." The old dragon turtle said, "If we had entered the bottom of the cave first, we would have died." This is why the old dragon turtle was not anxious at all. "Died?" Zhao Danshan frowned and said, "Emperor, you left the treasure. How could the people who entered die?" "Impossible." The old dragon turtle said, "This treasure can only be obtained by those who are fated. Those who are not fated will die. This old dragon turtle has lived for almost 10,000 years and has a good temper. It doesn't want people to die. Otherwise, it wouldn't have stopped us." Wu Hou said. Zhao Danshan was so angry that he laughed. "Haha, what a joke! This old dragon turtle stopped us and helped us?" Wu Hou rubbed his chin and said, "It doesn't sound real. But with the special senses I have since I was young, what this old dragon turtle said should be true. With the old dragon turtle's strength, if he wanted to kill us, he would have already done so at the entrance of the palace. But he only stopped us. From the beginning to the end, this old dragon turtle didn't kill a single human." Zhao Danshan froze. Indeed, whether it was using the ball of air to blast people away or threatening them, this old dragon turtle really didn't kill a single human. "Wu Hou," this old dragon turtle said, "only those who are fated can obtain it. Those who are not fated will die." "What is this? What is fated? What is fated?" Zhao Danshan said anxiously. "Brother Wu Hou, do you still believe in such an absurd saying? Fated or fated, it was hard to describe." I asked, but the old dragon turtle refused to tell me. Wu Hou said helplessly, "Haha, Zhao Danshan, Qinghu Island suffered a great loss this time. So many people died, and now we are at the entrance of the treasure. This old dragon turtle is telling you that you are not fated with the treasure. Ha ha! Wu Ho couldn't help but laugh. This is so funny. Ha ha! The muscles on Zhao Danshan's face twitched. Not fated? Zhao Danshan's eyes turned cold. He wouldn't believe it even if he died. Qinghu Island suffered so many losses and only got this sentence. Not fated with the treasure? He, Zhao Danshan, would never admit it. How did things end up like this? Zhao Danshan was so anxious that he had a headache. Everything was going according to plan, but now many innate experts died and fell into such a situation. It's because of that Qin Lang. If it wasn't for him, the others wouldn't have been able to find the bottomless pit. If it wasn't for him, Elder who wouldn't have died. Although I don't know how those elders died, but Elder whose roar before he died obviously showed that Qin Lang was involved. Zhao Danshan hated Qin Lang to the bone. Ting Qingshan was like a lifeless stone at the corner, observing silently. The training in his previous life had given Ting Qingshan enough patience. Even if he waited for 3 to 4 days, he wouldn't be impatient. He believed that the opportunity would come. On the correct route, in one of the alleys, the 5 surviving innate experts of Xiao Yao Palace were with the long-browed old monk. The long-browed old monk held a map of the maze in his hands and said, "There are 3 routes now. But that should be Wu Ho's voice just now. According to the direction Wu Ho is at, there is only one correct route." The long-browed old monk had followed Zhao Danshan for a long distance along the correct route. However, Zhao Danshan was shocked to find that he immediately changed the route and finally got rid of the long-browed old monk. However, the long-eyebrowed old monk later met the men of Xiao Yao Palace. It could be said that the long-browed old monk was lucky that they met. He obtained the map of the maze. It could also be said that the experts of Xiao Yao Palace were lucky. With the guidance of the long-browed old monk, they were able to narrow down the possible routes. The long-browed old monk was very sure that a portion of it was the correct path. With this part of the correct route, in addition to the location where Zhao Danshan and the demonic beasts were fighting, and the newly obtained map of the maze, the long-browed old monk went through the selection process and determined 3 paths. Wu Ho's laughter echoed a lot. However, his divine ear was still able to determine the direction. "Great Master, you are indeed powerful," the purple-cloaked elegant man from Xiao Yao Palace said with a smile. "Let's go. There are still 16 more forks before we reach the treasure. If we're too slow, Zhao Danshan's group might snatch it away," the long-browed old monk said calmly. Immediately, the 6 of them sped forward, rushing towards the treasure vault. Chapter 225. In the alley. Roar, roar, the old dragon turtle blocked the entrance and occasionally roared to communicate with Wu Ho. "Zhao Danshan, don't just stand there. It's useless no matter how anxious you are." Wu Ho stretched his body lazily. Suddenly, Wu Ho's expression changed. He looked at the other end of the alley and shouted, "There's someone!" Wu Ho, who was originally sitting on the ground, dashed over 200 zhang like a flash of lightning. "Someone's there." Zhao Danshan also dashed to the corner like a flash of lightning. Ting Qingshan, who was originally squatting at the corner, was astonished to see Wu Ho and Zhao Danshan dashing to the corner. How did he discover me? Including the reaction time, Ting Qingshan only had time to escape 30 zhang away. "Qin Lang." Wu Ho looked at the fleeing figure in shock. "There's actually someone at this corner?" "It's Qin Lang." Zhao Danshan was astonished at first. Then, his eyes turned red and his face turned ferocious as he roared, "Qin Lang, don't run!" The roar was still echoing in the alleyway, but Zhao Danshan was chasing after Ting Qingshan at his fastest speed. When Zhao Danshan chased after him, the 2 of them were only 50 zhang apart. With Zhao Danshan's speed, how could Ting Qingshan escape? Phew! Ting Qingshan had only dashed for 30 zhang when a figure flew over his head and blocked his way. "Qin Lang, where are you going?" Zhao Danshan's eyes were filled with unconcealable murderous intent. The muscles at the corner of his eyes were twitching, and his originally handsome face now looked ferocious. Elder Zhao, good Qin Gong. Ting Qingshan praised and immediately smiled bitterly, so it's them. At this moment, Ting Qingshan also discovered that there was a sound about 20 zhang away. Then, he saw 6 figures appear at the corner ahead. They were the 5 innate experts of Xiao Yao Palace and the long-browed old monk. At this moment, Ting Qingshan understood and couldn't help but smile bitterly, that Wu Ho didn't discover me. Instead, he discovered them. Qin Lang, you have the ability to hide your aura. You were actually not far from me, and I did not discover you. At this moment, Wu Ho walked over and looked at Ting Qingshan with shining eyes. I rarely admire people, but I really admire your ability to conceal your aura. Amazing, amazing! Wu Ho also exclaimed in admiration. What's the use of being powerful? Ting Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, Senior Wu Ho, please help me stop Zhao Danshan, who is about to go crazy. I will be very grateful. Brother Wu Ho, this Qin Lang killed Elder Hu of Qing Hu Island. I reckon that the deaths of the other elders must have something to do with this Qin Lang. Qing Hu Island swears to kill him. Zhao Danshan said in a deep voice. If you stop us, you will become the enemy of the entire Qing Hu Island. Zhao Danshan was so angry that his face turned red. It was obvious that he was furious. What he hated the most was this Qin wolf that revealed the bottomless pit. He's about to go crazy. Wu Ho stood by the wall, indicating that he wouldn't interfere. You guys settle your grudges yourselves. What are you guys doing here? The elegant man wearing a purple cloak from Xiao Yao Palace, Elder Shi, laughed in surprise. It seems that the treasures are not that easy to get. The long-browed old monk frowned. Zhao Danshan and Wu Ho were here, but they weren't going to get the treasures. That was strange. If they got the treasures, they should leave quickly instead of wasting time here. After all, the longer they stayed, the easier it would be for trouble to happen. Ting Qingshan looked at the group of people walking over and hastily said, Elder Shi, the people of Qing Hu Island who died. Now this Zhao Danshan is on me. The 5 men of Xiao Yao Palace and the long-browed old monk frowned. The long-browed old monk and the people of Xiao Yao Palace knew that everyone had worked together to kill a group of experts of Qing Hu Island. This was done by a group of people, not just by Ting Qingshan. Elder Shi, there must be many reasons for the death of the elders of Qing Hu Island. It's very complicated. What exactly happened? Qing Hu Island will investigate in detail in the future. However, we are sure that this Qin Lang is the culprit. Zhao Danshan's eyes were burning with anger as he looked at the people of Xiao Yao Palace and said, I hope you guys won't interfere. Of course, this is between Qing Hu Island and Qin Lang. Elder Shi of Xiao Yao Palace said with a smile. These great sects couldn't be bothered to go against Qing Hu Island for Qin Lang, who roamed the world alone. Previously, when they killed the elders of Qing Hu Island, everyone worked together and Qing Hu Island wouldn't dare to mention it again. However, if they interfered now, it would be the same as Xiao Yao Palace going against Qing Hu Island. Was it worth it for Qin Lang? It wasn't worth it. In the dark alleyway, Ting Qingshan was already isolated and without help. He was the Qin wolf, that did not belong to any sect. With this identity, no one was willing to help him. Even the king of beasts, Wu Ho, wouldn't offend the powerful Qing Hu Island for Ting Qingshan, who he didn't have a close relationship with. What should I do? What should I do now? Ting Qingshan anxiously thought of various methods in his mind. He knew that he couldn't force Xiao Yao Palace to help him. If he dragged them into this mess, the people of Xiao Yao Palace might join hands and kill him out of anger. Zhao Danshan was the only one who wanted to kill him now. Ting Qingshan still had a sliver of hope. The possibility of struggling. Even if I took out my reincarnation spear, it would be useless in a fight. Ting Qingshan was anxious, but he was still saying that he was stalling for time. Elder Zhao, with my true Dan innate realm strength, how could I kill Elder Hu? That was definitely an injustice. Humph, I heard Elder Hu's roar clearly before he died. Zhao Danshan pressed forward with a ferocious expression. Don't struggle. But don't worry, I won't let you die so easily. I will make you regret that you became Qing Hu Island's enemy. Zhao Danshan gnashed his teeth as he spoke. At this moment, Zhao Danshan obviously couldn't kill Ting Qingshan with one strike. If he let Ting Qingshan die without any pain, it would be too easy on him. Therefore, he had to torture him. Ruthlessly torture him. The best would be to cripple his martial arts. Break his limbs, blind his eyes, and cut off his tongue. Lock him in a dark dungeon and torture him every day. Let Qin Lang die in the darkness of despair and endless torture. Only then could Zhao Danshan vent his hatred. So many innate experts had died, but they still couldn't get Emperor Yu's treasure with such great hatred, no matter how ruthless the torture method was. In the eyes of Qing Hu Island, it was not excessive. Kill you with one strike? Dream on. Zhao Danshan approached slowly. Ting Qingshan retreated step by step. In this short period of time, Ting Qingshan had thought of a lot of ways, but none of them had any hope. With the strength of a golden Dan innate realm, killing me is as easy as lifting a finger. Now, my only option is to put myself in a hopeless situation and come back to life. There is a golden dragon turtle over there. I will escape to the side of the dragon turtle. Humans couldn't help him, so Ting Qingshan could only place his hope on the demonic beasts. Next to the dragon turtle, with my special body, if I fight Zhao Danshan to the death, I might have a glimmer of hope. Ting Qingshan knew very well that the only thing he could rely on was his special body. Some close-quarters fighting techniques were very popular on Earth in his previous life. In the land of the 9 prefectures, it was very rare. However, the opponent was a Golden Dan innate expert. With one strike, he could destroy his hope. Elder Zhao, I hope you can give me a quick death, Ting Qingshan shouted. At this moment, he had already retreated to the corner. Ha ha! Zhao Danshan laughed out of extreme anger. Phew! Ting Qingshan suddenly dashed towards the golden dragon turtle. Humph, just a struggle before death. Zhao Danshan wasn't anxious at all, because he knew that the end of the treasure was a dead end. Qin Lang had no way out. I'll cut the tendons in your arms and legs first. Zhao Danshan also dashed into the passageway where the treasure was at lightning speed. The king of beasts Wu Ho, the 5 men of Xiao Yao Palace, and the long-browed old monk also walked into the passageway. What a pity! He's an amazing person. Wu Ho sighed, but it seems that he has a grudge against Qing Hu Island. The 2 pearls emitted a dim light. The golden dragon turtle lay there. The long-browed old monk and the 5 men of Xiao Yao Palace saw this and their expressions changed. The golden dragon turtle was here. Things were going to be troublesome. Ting Qingshan was now beside the golden dragon turtle. Do you think the dragon turtle will help you? Zhao Danshan held the long sword in his hand and bowed slightly towards the golden dragon turtle to show his respect. He then straightened his body and continued walking towards Ting Qingshan. Zhao Danshan! Ting Qingshan's expression was cold, without a trace of fear. Crackle! Ting Qingshan's body emitted a sound that made people's teeth ache. Ting Qingshan's height increased visibly, and his arms and thighs became thicker. Chi-chi! The clean black sleeves on his body also tore apart, revealing his strong arms that seemed to be entangled with steel. Green veins coiled around his body like green snake. In an instant, Ting Qingshan turned into a demon. Zhao Danshan looked at this scene in surprise and sneered. It seems like it. However, your resistance is useless. Zhao Danshan didn't care at all, however. Ting Qingshan made up his mind. In the beginning, Ting Qingshan's extreme yang and unyielding side caused Zhao Danshan to have an illusion. At the moment of life and death, he displayed his amazing flexibility. It didn't matter if it was his fingers, head, or any part of his body. As long as his opponent didn't kill him, he would risk his life to kill his opponent. Then you can try, Ting Qingshan said coldly. Wu Ho, the long-browed old monk, and the 5 men of Xiao Yao Palace watched from afar. Come! Ting Qingshan felt his blood boiling. His blood flowed 10 times faster than usual, and his eyes turned red. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of Zhao Danshan's mouth, and his body suddenly turned into a gust of wind. Ting Qingshan dove down like a gorilla. Bang! Zhao Danshan, who had originally turned into a gust of wind, suddenly had a loud sound. Fresh blood splattered everywhere, and he flew up 10 zhang before landing heavily on the ground. Zhao Danshan lay on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He turned his head in disbelief and stared at the golden dragon turtle. Dragon turtle, how could it? Zhao Danshan was completely stupefied. Old dragon turtle? Wu Ho, the long-browed old monk, and the 5 men of Xiao Yao Palace also looked at the golden dragon turtle in surprise. Ting Qingshan, who had just dashed 30 zhang away, also looked at the enormous creature beside him in surprise. Why did it help me? At this moment, the golden dragon turtle had already left the cave. Its eyes swept across the group of humans, then it turned its huge head and looked at Ting Qingshan, who was beside it. Ting Qingshan felt the kindness contained in those huge eyes. Bang! It waved its hoof. The golden dragon turtle waved its hoof too quickly. Previously, Zhao Danshan couldn't dodge in time. This time, Ting Qingshan couldn't dodge in time either. Bang! Ting Qingshan was smashed into the entrance of the treasure trove like a huge rock. Only then did the golden dragon turtle crawl to the entrance of the treasure trove and lay down, blocking the entrance. Looking at the dumbfounded Zhao Danshan, Wu Ho, the long-browed old monk, and the others, the old dragon turtle opened its mouth proudly and raised its head, letting out a roar that resounded throughout the entire Heavenly Flood Palace. Roar, P.S. Today is the first day of the outbreak. Now there are 2,528 votes. Yesterday there were 1,419 votes, an increase of over 1,100 votes. Therefore, Tomato will have an outbreak for 11 days. Today is the first day, hee. The following events will get more and more exciting. Everyone's monthly votes will get more exciting. Rush to first place. Chapter 226. Ting Qingshan's whole body was smashed into the entrance of the treasure trove by the big hoof, rolling down the stairs. How could this happen? Ting Qingshan supported himself with one hand and half squatted on the ground. His mind was still in a mess. The things that happened just now were really full of twists and turns. First, he was dragged down by the men of Xiao Yao Palace and was discovered by Zhao Danshan. When he made up his mind to fight Zhao Danshan with his life, the golden dragon turtle suddenly attacked and blasted Zhao Danshan away, saving him. This wasn't the end. He had just saved him, but he was smashed into the entrance of the treasure. Is there something special about me? Does this old dragon turtle have a special feeling towards me? Ting Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He turned his head and looked at the hole above the stairs. The old dragon turtle's abdomen armor was blocking the hole. This old dragon turtle told Wu Ho that Emperor Yu's treasure can only be obtained by those who are fated, and those who are not fated will die. Am I the fated one? To Ting Qingshan, whether it was fated or not, it was a very strange thing. He and Emperor Yu had been separated for many years. How could they be fated? Although I don't know why this old dragon turtle helped me. At least I escaped from death and came here. Ting Qingshan scanned the surroundings. It was still made of azure green material. In the Heavenly Flood Palace, besides the upper level of the maze, there was another level below. However, the lower level was much simpler. Normally, there would be an azure green pillar every 10 zhang. At first glance, there were many pillars everywhere, supporting the upper level. The underground isn't pitch black. Instead, there's light. Ting Qingshan discovered that the roots of the two adjacent pillars were connected by azure green light. The top of the two pillars were also connected by azure green light. This caused the entire underground to be shrouded in azure green light. The rays of azure green light intersected with each other, forming a 10 zhang wide lattice. Spacious. Silence. This was the bottom level of the heavenly flood palace. There were no demonic beasts. It was quiet and shrouded in azure green light. Something's wrong. Ting Qingshan took a closer look. There's something wrong with the lighting. Ting Qingshan discovered that there were actually streaks of green halos flowing within these rays of green light, just like the flow of water in a river. Yes. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened as he thought to himself, no energy can be created out of thin air. Cultivation also requires the refinement of essence into qi, and qi into spirit. This heavenly flood palace has existed at the bottom of the lake for at least 5,000 years without a scratch. There must be energy replenishment and support. There should be an energy center here. Ting Qingshan deduced from his previous life. Immediately, Ting Qingshan strolled around the underground. Apart from the endless pillars, there was nothing else but the green light. As expected, after walking only 500 zhang, Ting Qingshan smiled. Rays of light transmit energy. Just like the flow of water, hundreds of rivers flow into the sea. The more water flows, the wider the river will be. The closer I get to the energy center of the heavenly flood palace, the thicker the rays will be. After 500 zhang, Ting Qingshan discovered that the rays of green light under his feet were thicker than the ones behind him. There were two kinds of rays of green light. One was horizontal, and the other was vertical. Ting Qingshan discovered that the horizontal rays were thicker as he moved forward. The vertical rays were thicker as he moved to the left. Ting Qingshan moved forward diagonally to the left. After walking for about 1 li, Ting Qingshan stopped. What a terrifying energy! Ting Qingshan's heart trembled. In front of Ting Qingshan, the rays of light were already 3 qi thick. They couldn't be considered as rays of light, but a small stream. According to the flow of energy, this should be the energy center. 30 zhang in front of Ting Qingshan was the place with the thickest energy flow. The other places didn't have this much. However, the surroundings were still filled with pillars and crisscrossing rays of green light. The huge underground palace was like a huge go board. The center is just 30 zhang ahead. Ting Qingshan cautiously took out a flying knife. Whoosh! The flying knife turned into an afterimage and shot forward 30 zhang. Ting Qingshan observed carefully. He had a premonition that something was about to happen. Boom! The entire underground palace shook violently, as if there was an earthquake. Ting Qingshan's expression changed greatly as he looked forward in shock. A dazzling ball of green light that was 30 zhang wide appeared in front of him. It looked like a green sun. Bang! This green sun suddenly exploded with a powerful shock wave. Like ripples on the surface of water, it instantly spread out at an astonishing speed. The entire space trembled because of this terrifying energy. It seemed as if the entire space was about to collapse. Ting Qingshan had never seen such a terrifying scene. The speed was too fast. Ting Qingshan didn't have time to dodge, and there was no place to dodge. Instantly, a thought appeared in Ting Qingshan's mind. No wonder he dared to say that he would definitely die if he entered. Even an emptiness realm expert might not be able to resist it. Ting Qingshan was drowned by the spreading green shock wave. In the upper level of the heavenly flood palace, rumble, the entire maze shook. In the passageway, the king of beasts Wu Ho, Zhao Danshan, the long-browed old monk, and the 5 experts of Shao Yao Palace changed their expressions. What's going on? Why is the palace shaking? Everyone was shocked and panicked. Could it be that Qin Lang obtained Emperor Yu's treasure? Wu Ho said with a frown. Yes. The Heavenly Flood Palace has existed for thousands of years. I think it would only be shaken if someone obtained Emperor Yu's treasure. The long-browed old monk nodded. Hearing this, Zhao Danshan's expression became even more unsightly. He glanced at the golden dragon turtle lying leisurely at the entrance of the cave and thought to himself, obtained Emperor Yu's treasure? Humph, Qin Lang, you don't belong to any sect. Even if you obtained Emperor Yu's treasure, what right do you have to protect it? When you come out, Zhao Danshan. Qinghu Island had suffered a great loss, and Emperor Yu's treasure was originally in the bag. But everything changed because of Qin Lang. Hatred and killing intent couldn't be concealed at all. Elder Zhao, what happened inside? A deep and resounding voice reverberated in the Heavenly Flood Palace. It was Gu Yong, who had been waiting anxiously outside the palace gate. Originally, he had been waiting patiently, but he could see with his naked eyes that the entire Heavenly Flood Palace was shaking violently. He immediately became anxious. Something big must have happened in the Heavenly Flood Palace. Island Lord, bring your men in. Zhao Danshan also shouted loudly. In the passageway, when the others heard Zhao Danshan's shout, they all shook their heads and laughed. Brother Zhao, what's the use of letting your island lord come now? Ha ha! Wu Ho laughed. Humph, Zhao Danshan's face was cold. Previously, Gu Yong and the others were outside to prevent the island lord, Gu Yong, from dying, and now, although it seemed like they couldn't get Emperor Yu's treasure, judging from the current situation, there was no longer any danger. Let the island lord and the others come in, and they could talk about what to do next. At the bottom of the Heavenly Flood Palace, one li to the left of the stairway entrance, the shaking had already stopped. Ting Qingshan was still standing there, his entire body bathed in the azure light. The small tripod pendant, which was originally inside his clothes, was now absorbing the azure light. The small tripod had saved the defenseless Ting Qingshan from the shock wave of energy just now. Ting Qingshan was unharmed. So magical. Ting Qingshan didn't even look at the small tripod. Instead, he looked ahead. Originally, there was nothing in front of him, but now a dazzling golden light appeared. 9 black three-legged small tripods, each half the height of a human, were neatly arranged in 3 rows, forming the shape of 9 squares. Each three-legged black three-legged small tripod had a lid at the top, and a golden pearl was inlaid on the lid. It was these 9 golden pearls that emitted dazzling golden light. Outside the 9 small tripods, there was a golden spherical light cover that could be seen by the naked eye. This golden spherical light cover completely enveloped the space where the 9 small tripods were. Among the 9 three-legged small tripods, above the small tripod in the center, a big black axe was floating. This big black axe was floating in the air. Obviously, this big black axe was at the center of the spherical light cover. Indistinctly, rays of azure light were flowing on the big black axe. 9 cauldrons? A black axe? Ting Qingshan's gaze fell on the axe. This place seems to be related to my small tripod. Ting Qingshan lowered his head and looked at the small tripod in front of his chest. Immediately, he reached out his hand and touched the golden light cover. Qi. Like 2 magnets attracting each other, Ting Qingshan's entire body was instantly sucked into the light cover. Ah! Ting Qingshan stared at the big black axe in shock. Outside the light cover, Ting Qingshan couldn't sense how terrifying this black axe was. However, after entering the light cover, the terrifying pressure spread out, causing Ting Qingshan's heart to tremble. This axe should be the center of the entire Heavenly Flood Palace. Without any support, the axe was floating in the air. The azure light flowing on the axe seemed to be connected to the azure light in the outside world. Looking at this axe, Ting Qingshan's mind moved. According to the legends, Emperor Yu's weapon was an axe. Could it be this axe? Ting Qingshan thought to himself. However, according to logic, even the weapons of the 4 omnipotent experts were only made with some precious materials. It was only a symbol and shouldn't be very useful. A weapon was a weapon. Even if it was Emperor Yu's weapon, there shouldn't be anything special. But why could a weapon float in the air? Is there something inside these 9 small tripod? Ting Qingshan swept his gaze across the cauldron cover and saw the faint reflection of light inside the cauldron. Chi-Chi, the golden pearls on the cauldron cover of the 9 small tripod suddenly emitted a golden ray of light. 9 rays of light converged above the 9 tripod cauldrons. A blurry and tall virtual figure appeared in the air. The figure was dressed in a plain gray cloth, had messy hair, a square face, and a beard that reached his temples. At first glance, he looked like a barbarian. This is... Ting Qingshan stared at this scene blankly. P.S. Chapter 1 is here. Chapter 227. The owner of the 9 prefectures' cauldrons, my name is Yu. A deep and gentle voice came out of the virtual figure's mouth. Emperor Yu? It's Emperor Yu. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but shiver and hold his breath. Emperor Yu's influence in the land of the 9 prefectures was too great. He was the first omnipotent expert in history. He was the first existence to unify the entire world and was called Emperor Yu. Now, he was worshipped by the people of the land of the 9 prefectures as a god. He unified the entire world, built the 9 cauldrons, and divided the 9 prefectures. From then on, this vast world was called the 9 prefectures. After Emperor Yu, the entire land of the 9 prefectures became united. Everyone regarded themselves as a citizen of the 9 prefectures and worshipped Emperor Yu and the 9 cauldrons during the annual sacrifice. In the hearts of the citizens of the 9 prefectures, Heavenly Emperor Qinling, martial ancestor Shiga, and the poetic sword god couldn't compare to Emperor Yu in terms of status. Emperor Yu was deified. He became the belief of the citizens of every generation. When you found this, I couldn't even guess how many years had passed. The tall virtual figure sighed. As time passes, nothing can exist forever. I can't even guess. If your generation still knows me, Yu. Ting Qingshan listened quietly. He understood that this was an image left by Emperor Yu. Emperor Yu said that I am the owner of the 9 prefectures' cauldrons? Could it be? Ting Qingshan stroked the small tripod in front of his chest and said, "This is one of the 9 prefectures' cauldrons?" The tall virtual figure continued speaking. "The owner of the 9 prefectures' cauldrons, I left this heavenly flood palace because I have a request for you in the future. Of course, when I have a request for you, I will also leave some treasures for you." The deep and gentle voice resounded within the light shield. Emperor Yu's voice made people feel comfortable. Although Ting Qingshan didn't see Emperor Yu in person, he already had a good impression of Emperor Yu just from the image. A request for me? Leave treasures for me? Ting Qingshan listened carefully. Emperor Yu smiled and said, "When I was young, there were countless tribes that fought and killed each other. Moreover, there were many mountain ranges on the ground and rivers were flooding. I want to change everything, but if I want to do that, I need to possess peerless martial power. I comprehended the heavens and earth and cultivated arduously. At the same time, I led my tribe to expand continuously. Of course, I experienced many things along the way. In the end, I broke through the emptiness realm and reached the paramount consummation realm. I unified the entire world, split open the mountains, straightened out the rivers, and finally, I built the 9 cauldrons and divided the land of the 9 prefectures. After saying all this, I'm sure you have an understanding of me." Ting Qingshan snickered. Emperor Yu was indeed interesting. Perhaps he was worried that if too much time passed, there wouldn't be any records of his deeds in the world. Therefore, he simply mentioned it. Actually, Emperor Yu couldn't be blamed for thinking this way. After all, before Emperor Yu, the tribes were destroyed one by one. The heroes left no trace in history. Emperor Yu couldn't predict the future. Do you know why I established the 9 cauldrons and why I divided the 9 states? the tall virtual figure said. Ting Qingshan was puzzled. Divide the 9 provinces? It should be an even better notice. Setting up the 9 cauldrons? It was just symbolic. Setting up the 9 cauldrons and dividing the 9 prefectures. This involves the secret of the entire world. If you can reach Emptiness Realm culmination, you will probably understand, the tall virtual figure said. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. He hadn't even stepped into the Emptiness Realm, let alone the culmination. So the establishment of the 9 cauldrons and the division of the 9 prefectures involves a great secret? Ting Qingshan listened attentively. The way of cultivation is to absorb the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth and refine the essence into qi. This is the post-liminary realm. After that, one nurtures the spirit to achieve harmony between the spirit and qi. Only then can one refine the qi into the spirit and reach the innate realm. The innate realm is actually nurturing the spirit and strengthening the spirit. The spirit will continuously merge into the dantian and the innate true origin will become stronger. When one reaches the golden dan of the innate realm, it can be said that the human body has almost reached the pinnacle. Emperor Yu said. Ting Qingshan suddenly understood. Some secret techniques always mentioned various realms. Actually, these were all illusory. In reality, it was to nurture the spirit and strengthen the spirit. Ting Qingshan was overjoyed and said, yes, the golden dan of the innate realm can use the spirit to eliminate air resistance. Yes, the 3 realms of the innate realm are actually the process of strengthening the spirit. After reaching the golden dan of the innate realm, the spirit will be strong enough. Then one can begin to understand the heavens and earth and the Tao of the heavens and earth. Emperor Yu said, in simple words, it's like knowing a person. The emptiness realm is knowing the heavens and earth. When you know more and can begin to use the power of the heavens and earth, you will be considered to have stepped into the emptiness realm. This is also cultivating the spirit to return to the emptiness. The tall virtual figure continued. Ting Qingshan nodded to himself and listened attentively. The emptiness realm can be divided into the entering emptiness and the insightful emptiness. The virtual figure of Emperor Yu said, the entering emptiness realm is to understand the heavens and earth and merge with the heavens and earth. When one reaches the pinnacle, one can completely merge with the heavens and earth and even become invisible. During the 300 years that I was alive, I realized that in the entire world, besides me, only 3 people could reach the entering emptiness realm. Not a single one reached the insightful emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan exclaimed inwardly. Actually, it was extremely difficult to understand the entire heavens and earth and reach the pinnacle. I estimate that most of the emptiness realm experts in the 8 supreme sects of the 9 prefectures have reached the entering emptiness realm. What is the insightful emptiness realm? The insightful emptiness realm is to see through the shattering emptiness realm. The emptiness realm is also the vast heavens and earth. What is seeing through the emptiness realm? This is actually seeing through the essence of the heavens and earth, and even creating the emptiness realm according to the essence of the heavens and earth. Emperor Yu said, this is very difficult. I estimate that it would be good if 1 out of 10 emptiness realm experts could reach the insightful emptiness realm. Ting Qingshan was very smart. He completely understood Emperor Yu's meaning. The entering emptiness realm meant that they could merge with the heavens and earth and borrow the power of the heavens and earth. It was like a car mechanic. They knew the structure of a car and could repair the car if there was something wrong with it. As for the insightful emptiness realm, it was equivalent to understanding the structure of every part of a car and even knowing how to make steel. They could rely on themselves to build a new car. The insightful emptiness realm is actually understanding the essence of the heavens and earth and creating the emptiness realm according to the essence of the heavens and earth? Ting Qingshan was completely shocked. The entering emptiness realm is just fusing with the heavens and earth. However, the insightful emptiness realm is creating the emptiness realm. In other words, it is creating the heaven and earth that belongs to the insightful emptiness realm. The tall and big virtual figure sighed and said, "Of course, the insightful emptiness realm is not much stronger than the entering emptiness realm." Ting Qingshan didn't understand. The insightful emptiness realm was not much stronger than the entering emptiness realm? This is because the insightful emptiness realm experts refine the energy of the heavens and earth and create their own world. This is due to the suppression of the heavens and earth. The tall and big virtual figure said, "Moreover, because the insightful emptiness realm experts are suppressed and the amount of energy they can refine is too little, the world they create is very small. Normally, they can only create a world within their own bodies." Ting Qingshan thought for a while and understood. The boundless land of the 9 prefectures was a world. The insightful emptiness realm experts could see through the essence of the world and create a world of their own. Of course, the land of the 9 prefectures would reject them. However, the land of the 9 prefectures was a boundless ocean, while the land of the 9 prefectures was a drop of water. The difference in strength was too great. The insightful emptiness realm experts could only create a world within their bodies. Of course, the world created by the insightful emptiness realm experts is much weaker than the land of the 9 prefectures, the tall and big virtual figure said emotionally. Ting Qingshan nodded. The small world created by the insightful emptiness realm experts was like a thatched cottage. The land of the 9 prefectures was like a skyscraper. Although the world within the body is small, the more one understands the essence of the heavens and earth, the more perfect the world within the body can be built. Until one day the world within the body is strong enough to resist the suppression of the land of the 9 prefectures and reach my current realm. The tall and big virtual figure said, "When that time comes, your world will expand. In your world, you will be absolutely invincible." Ting Qingshan suddenly understood. No wonder the omnipotent experts dared to say that they could unify the world by themselves. It turned out that the omnipotent experts had their own world. The world expanded. Within this area, the strongest were the masters. No matter who the emptiness realm expert was, they had to surrender. "I am the first person in history to reach this realm." Emperor Yu said emotionally, "When I reached this realm, I had a complete understanding of the essence of the land of the 9 prefectures. I found that the energy of the land of the 9 prefectures was chaotic, so the mountains were in disorder and the rivers were flooding. Therefore, I spent a lot of effort to forge the 9 cauldrons and the splitting mountain axe. I placed the 9 cauldrons at the 9 sources of energy of the entire world." Ting Qingshan was shocked. There were 9 sources of energy in this world? After I suppressed them, the flooding of the rivers slowed down, and the natural and man-made disasters decreased. Emperor Yu said, "However, I knew this could only suppress them for a while. Therefore, I held the splitting mountain axe and chopped down the mountains. At the same time, I sorted out the rivers and water veins of the world and divided the world into 9 regions, which are called the 9 prefectures. When everything was sorted out, the heavens and earth became peaceful again. The 9 cauldrons didn't need to suppress the sources anymore. However, the 9 cauldrons were fused with the source of energy of the world and possessed many mysterious abilities. However, these abilities were not under the control of the owner. Emperor Yu said, "The 9 cauldrons and my splitting mountain axe were forged together. Only the owner of the 9 prefectures' cauldrons could reach this place safely." Ting Qingshan finally understood. At the same time, he admired Emperor Yu. Emperor Yu's previous situation was described briefly. The great tribes were in a chaotic war, the world was filled with endless killings, and the natural and man-made disasters were endless. Emperor Yu's contribution could not be erased. After saying so much, I actually want to ask you to do two things for me. The virtual figure revealed a smile and said, "These two things are actually very simple. I don't know what happened to the Emperor Yu's hall that I left behind after so many years. If it has already disappeared, I hope you can find my descendants and take care of them. I don't want my bloodline to be cut off." Ting Qingshan smiled. It seemed like Emperor Yu valued bloodline a lot. However, Emperor Yu's hall was very powerful. It obviously didn't need Ting Qingshan to take care of it. Emperor Yu continued, "The second thing, actually, I don't only have the bloodline of Emperor Yu's hall. I have another bloodline. P.S. Here's the second chapter." Chapter 228. Ting Qingshan smiled. Emperor Yu was really merciful. Apart from the Emperor Yu's hall in the land of the 9 prefectures, the other branch of my bloodline is in the distant north of the North Sea. Emperor Yu said, "At the northernmost part of the boundless North Sea, there is a vast continent. Of course, that continent is much smaller than the land of the 9 prefectures. That was equivalent to 2 states. I call it the Northern Sea Continent." Ting Qingshan was a little surprised. There was utterly no record in the books that there was actually a Northern Sea Continent at the north of the Northern Sea. 2 prefectures was actually quite large. That place is much colder than the land of the 9 prefectures. Most of the entire Northern Sea Continent is covered in snow all year round, and the population there is very small. The land of the 9 prefectures has hundreds of millions of people, while the Northern Sea Continent only had a few million people. A smile appeared on Emperor Yu's face as he said, "However, the clansmen of the tribes there are very united, unlike in the land of the 9 prefectures where the great tribes fight against each other." As for Ting Qingshan, he was calculating. During the era of Emperor Yu, the population of the land of the 9 prefectures was only a few hundred million. Now, the population of the land of the 9 prefectures was about 3 billion. After thousands of years, did the Northern Sea Continent's population go extinct, or did it become more prosperous? And why had the Northern Sea Continent never been recorded in the books? My descendants in the Northern Sea Continent should be living on the godly Axe Mountain. Emperor Yu said emotionally. Compared to Emperor Yu's hall, I'm more worried about the godly Axe Mountain of the Northern Sea Continent. Because there are many natural disasters in the Northern Sea Continent, such as the collapse of snowy mountains and the onslaught of terrifying cold currents. I can't change any of these. After all, the core of this world was the land of the 9 prefectures. Even the 9 great sources were here. The sea and other places are much harsher. Ting Qingshan nodded silently. However, the Northern Sea Continent is very far from the land of the 9 prefectures. Emperor Yu said, "The northernmost shore of the land of the 9 prefectures is about 10,000 li to the north. The further north we go, the more dangerous the sea will be. Even demonic beasts could not fly to the north. So if we want to go to the Northern Sea Continent, we can only rely on boats." Ting Qingshan smiled bitterly. 100,000 miles? Being on the sea was incomparable to being on land. If the wind was favorable, it could cover thousands of kilometers in a day and a night. However, how could a journey of more than 100,000 miles be smooth sailing every day? Ting Qingshan said, "If I really want to go, with my body's adaptability, it shouldn't be a problem for me to get to the Northern Sea Continent." Ting Qingshan sailed on a boat. Even if the boat capsized, it would be a small matter, because even in the sea, Ting Qingshan could breathe through his pores. Moreover, with the strength of his body, he could swim very fast. Experts of the internal martial arts had a strong ability to survive in harsh environment. Emperor Yu continued, "An innate expert, plus some good materials to build a ship of the highest quality. It would take a year and a half to reach the Northern Sea Continent. When I went to the Northern Sea Continent, I had already reached the emptiness realm." Ting Qingshan felt helpless. "Emperor Yu, why did you come to the North Sea for no reason?" He even left his bloodline there. Back then, the land of the 9 prefectures was in chaos. I realized that it would be very difficult to unify the world with my emptiness realm power. Therefore, I left my tribe and began to travel the world alone. I went to the wilderness of the south until the end. I've also been to the East Sea and traveled to many islands overseas. I also stepped into the desert. In the west of the land of the 9 prefectures, I traveled to the small countries in the desert. Finally, I stepped into the north. I passed through the vast prairie and continued northward until I reached the northernmost shore. Then, I took a boat. At that time, I just wanted to see the vastness of the heavens and the earth, and what wonders there were. On the sea, I drifted northward alone. In the boundless ocean, I was the only one in the world. After nearly half a year on the sea, I had an epiphany. From the entering emptiness realm, I stepped into the insightful emptiness realm. Emperor Yu said, later on, I found the northern sea continent. It was a place without internal strife. I spent 18 years there. I had a wife and children there. 18 years later, I broke through the insightful emptiness realm and reached the paramount perfection realm. Emperor Yu said, at that time, although the northern sea continent and the land of the 9 prefectures were far away, they were nothing to me. Ting Qingshan gave a thumbs up to Emperor Yu and thought to himself, you're ruthless. The northern sea continent and the land of the 9 prefectures each have a home. The land of the 9 prefectures has countless heroes. It is a place that makes men's blood boil. On the other hand, the northern sea continent is very peaceful. Emperor Yu sighed and said, when I reached the supreme perfection realm, I used my world to absorb the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth to refine a type of spiritual liquid that I needed. This spiritual liquid was known as the elixir of the North Sea in Emperor Yu's hall. In the northern sea continent's godly axe mountain, it was called the spirit of the 9 continents. However, my children do not know that there is another continent. Ting Qingshan was shocked. The elixir of the North Sea? The elixir of the North Sea was refined by Emperor Yu using his world? In the books that recorded the treasures of heaven and earth. Other than the scarlet fruit, the black fire spirit fruit, the grass of immortality, the bamboo spirit fruit, the 10,000-year chalcedony and many other treasures, there was one more, the elixir of the North Sea. A single drop of the elixir of the North Sea could allow one to reach the peak of the Hotian realm. Not only would one's dantian be filled with internal strength, one's meridians would also undergo a transformation, becoming tougher and wider. It was rumored that this spiritual liquid existed in the depths of the North Sea. However, the elixir of the North Sea was unique to Emperor Yu's hall. What do you mean by deep in the North Sea? Bullshit. Emperor Yu's hall was spreading fake news. The elixir of the North Sea was left behind by Emperor Yu. Ting Qingshan clearly knew how precious the elixir of the North Sea was. A drop of the elixir of the North Sea was several times more precious than a vermilion fruit. After all, not only could he reach the peak of the post-liminary realm, but he could also improve his meridians. A single drop of the elixir of the North Sea could create a peak Hotian expert. Reaching the omnipotent realm is indeed incredible, Ting Qingshan praised in his heart. He also understood why he could build the heavenly flood palace. Once they reached the omnipotent realm, they would have their own world. What couldn't they create? If the Emperor Yu's hall in the land of the 9 prefectures and the godly Axe Mountain in the northern sea continent are in trouble, I hope you can take care of them. If they no longer exist, then forget it. Emperor Yu sighed and said, I won't let you come for nothing. In the surrounding 9 cauldrons. Every year, after the transformation of the entire heavenly flood palace and the splitting mountain axe, each cauldron will produce 2 to 3 drops of the elixir of the North Sea. The longer the time, the more elixir of the North Sea. With this much elixir of the North Sea, it's enough to help you build a powerful army. Ting Qingshan looked at the surrounding 9 three-legged cauldrons in astonishment. I saw the reflection of light in the cauldrons. Were they all the elixir of the North Sea? Ting Qingshan was shocked. Each cauldron produces 2 to 3 drops every year. Thousands of years have passed, and each cauldron has over 10,000 drops. The 9 cauldrons probably have over 100,000 drops. Qinghu Island had a total of 2,000 golden scale guards. 100,000? An army formed by 100,000 first-rate warriors? Ting Qingshan didn't dare to think about it. Even 100 innate experts would be exhausted to death in such an army. An invincible army, an invincible army. Ting Qingshan's heart raced as he immediately reached out to open the lid of the cauldron. It can't be opened? Ting Qingshan discovered that there seemed to be a layer of faint golden film on the surface of the cauldron lid. Haha, are you excited? Emperor Yu laughed and said, but don't be too excited. No matter how powerful an army is, it's just an army. In the land of the 9 prefectures, it's still the peerless martial power that decides one's fate. As long as one reaches the emptiness realm, then one can ignore thousands of soldiers and kill innate experts. Ting Qingshan felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on him. He calmed down. Yes, now that the Guiyuan sect has obtained so many elixirs of the North Sea, if it's discovered, we might be exterminated. Ting Qingshan could guess. The emptiness realm experts of the Guiyuan sect rarely fight. I'm afraid that they have just entered the emptiness realm and are much weaker than the emptiness realm experts of other sections. They can protect themselves, but it will be difficult for the Guiyuan sect to expand. For example, the Mani Temple, Emperor Yu's Hall, and the Ying family must have powerful emptiness realm experts. Killing the emptiness realm expert of the Guiyuan sect and taking away the elixir of the North Sea. It was completely possible. Plus, how can I take these 9 cauldrons away? Ting Qingshan frowned. Each cauldron was half the height of a person, and its width and height were about the same. Ting Qingshan only had 2 hands, so it was impossible for him to take all 9 cauldrons away. Plus, there are people from other sects around. The consequences would be unimaginable. What a pity! The elixir of the North Sea seemed beautiful. However, in reality it was extremely troublesome. Firstly, it was difficult to take it out. Secondly, even if he brought it back to the Guiyuan sect, the Guiyuan sect wouldn't dare to use it wantonly. Just like Emperor Yu's Hall. Emperor Yu's Hall had the elixir of the North Sea, but Emperor Yu's Hall had never built an extremely powerful army. This was because Emperor Yu's Hall understood that without enough peak strength, if the army was too powerful, Emperor Yu's Hall would become the target of public criticism. The best way to use the elixir of the North Sea is to do what Emperor Yu's Hall did. A small stream flows over a long period of time, allowing the sect to prosper for a long time. Ting Qingshan understood this point. If a sect wants to obtain a higher status, it must not depend on the army. What I'm looking at is not the army, but the top experts. If there was an omnipotent expert, unifying the world would be very easy. Are you disappointed? Haha, the most important thing is your own strength. Emperor Yu smiled and said, therefore, my second gift is on the Godly Axe Mountain of the Northern Sea continent. Godly Axe Mountain? Ting Qingshan frowned. Yes, the Godly Axe Mountain. Emperor Yu said, later, pick up my Splitting Mountain Axe. With the Splitting Mountain Axe guarding the 9 cauldrons. You can't even move the 9 cauldrons. Only by picking up the Splitting Mountain Axe can you move the 9 cauldrons. At the same time, take the Splitting Mountain Axe and head to the Godly Axe Mountain. At that time, my Splitting Mountain Axe will combine with the seal of the 36 Splitting Mountain forms that I left on the Godly Axe Mountain. You will be able to comprehend my most powerful technique even more deeply. As long as you comprehend 20 to 30% of it, you will be able to step into the emptiness realm. Don't be surprised. The 36 splitting mountain forms is even stronger than my heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons. Ting Qingshan froze. The heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons was one of the 4 great divine codices. However, he had never heard of the 36 splitting mountain forms. However, Emperor Yu used an axe, but he passed down the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons. This indeed puzzled many people. Ting Qingshan now had some guesses. With the splitting mountain axe and the 36 splitting mountain forms. As long as you are an innate expert, no matter how stupid you are, you will definitely be able to step into the emptiness realm within 100 years. For those with high comprehension, you will need 20 to 30 years. Emperor Yu smiled and said, Emptiness realm. Once you reach the emptiness realm, you will be able to do whatever you want in this vast world. Ting Qingshan smiled. Emperor Yu was indeed sinister. With such a plan, it seemed that he had to go to the Northern Sea continent. Emptiness realm. In this world, there was probably no one who could guarantee that you would step into the emptiness realm within 100 years. However, Emperor Yu dared to say it. Because he was Emperor Yu. P.S. 3 chapters have been updated. The second day. In the next chapter, there will be a huge surprise. At the same time, the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons has nothing to do with Hongmeng. Yes, let's call for recommendation votes. There are fewer recommendation votes now. Is everyone not used to voting for recommendations? Watching the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons and voting for recommendations. This is a good habit. Chapter 229. My 36 splitting mountain forms doesn't have any mental cultivation method. It's just 36 axe moves. It's also my strongest axe art. The heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons is written from low to high. It's more detailed and clear, making it easier for people to cultivate. Emperor Yu said, if we're talking about cultivation, the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons clearly describes the Tao of the heavens and earth from beginning to end. Using this heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons to cultivate to the emptiness realm is much easier than cultivating the other secret techniques I left behind. Ting Qingshan understood. For example, the martial ancestor of the Guiyuan sect was probably at the emptiness realm and had a shallow understanding of the Tao of the heavens and earth. The Guiyuan heart scripture he wrote was naturally abstruse and difficult for the later generations to understand. As for Emperor Yu, he knew the nature of the heavens and earth very well, so he could describe it in simple terms. Cultivating the heavenly book of the 9 cauldrons would naturally be faster than cultivating the Guiyuan heart scripture. The 36 splitting mountain forms has no mental cultivation method, but it's my strongest axe art. Emperor Yu sighed. Because there's no mental cultivation method, it's too difficult to cultivate just by looking at the pictures of the axe art. Therefore, I left the 36 words Tao on the godly axe mountain of the Northern Sea continent. Beside each word there was a picture of an axe art. Looking at my words, you might be able to understand the essence of my axe art. Ting Qingshan smiled. Emperor Yu was similar to him. His 5 elemental spear art, pursuing shadow, transmutation unity law, toxic dragon drill, and vermilion tiger roar, also didn't have any mental cultivation method or mnemonic chant, but only a concept. When one truly understood the concept, the spear art would be comprehended. Ting Qingshan sighed to himself. In the future, it will be very difficult to teach my 5 elemental spear art. Without a deep understanding of the concept of the 5 elements, it will be very difficult to understand this spear art. It was the same principle. Ting Qingshan was a spear art, while Emperor Yu was an axe art. However, if you bring the splitting mountain axe with you and combine it with the seal I left behind, you will be able to see the scene when I wrote the 36 words with the splitting mountain axe. You will see me perform the axe art with your own eyes. If you comprehend it for a long time, you will gain something. If you comprehend it for a few decades, you will definitely reach the emptiness realm. When Ting Qingshan was at the core of the heavenly flood palace and was listening to the message left by Emperor Yu several thousand years ago, he didn't know that his teacher, Zhuge Yuanhong, had already brought an army to the Great Yen Mountain. In the evening, there was still a trace of red on the western horizon. Thousands of soldiers were gathered at the foot of the Great Yen Mountain. The leader was a man wearing light armor. He was leading his subordinates and looking towards the east. Rumble! The earth trembled. In the distance, a black dragon, formed by a large number of heavy cavalry, was rapidly approaching. "Quick, follow me to welcome the sect master," the man in light armor shouted. This time, the black armored corps traveled at the fastest speed possible. Every dark veins horse galloped recklessly. The mighty army quickly covered a distance of several li and arrived in front of the large group of soldiers. "Stop!" A shout resounded through the sky. "Nay, nay!" One warhorse after another came to a halt. "Dismount!" With this order, the numerous soldiers of the black armored corps all dismounted. Dressed in a white cloak, Zhuge Yuanhong was followed by the law-enforcing elder, Yan Matian, Commander Pang Shan, and many other commandant. Even Zhuge Qing, dressed in light green armor, was among the crowd. Subordinate Yang Ku greets the sovereign. The leader of the soldiers, Yang Ku, immediately bowed. This person was the city lord of Yi City, Yang Ku. "Yes." Zhuge Yuanhong ordered indifferently, "Take care of all the warhorses of the black armored corps. At the same time, prepare to receive them here." "Yes." Yang Ku bowed and answered. "Did you find out where the men of Qinghu Island are stationed?" Zhuge Yuanhong asked. Before they departed, the Gui Yuan sect immediately sent a message to Yi City. Of course, the city lord of Yi City, Yang Ku, immediately led the thousands of soldiers of the city guard and rushed over. "Sovereign, the place where the men of Qinghu Island are stationed hasn't changed. This is the map of the Great Yen Mountain. The location of the men of Qinghu Island is already marked on the map." Yang Ku respectfully presented the map. Zhuge Yuanhong took the map. With a shake of his hand, the map unfolded. Zhuge Yuanhong scanned the map and shouted loudly, "All soldiers of the black armored corps, follow me into the mountain. Elder Yen, let's go and meet the men of Qinghu Island." Zhuge Yuanhong looked at Yan Matian at the side. Yan Matian also smiled and nodded. Immediately, under the leadership of the two Golden Dan innate experts of the Gui Yuan sect, the 3,000 black armored corps entered the Great Yen Mountain and rushed towards the place where Qinghu Island was stationed. Zhuge Yuanhong understood that if they foolishly waited outside the Great Yen Mountain, they wouldn't even know that Ting Qingshan had died. The best and fastest way was to force their way to Qinghu Island. With the help of the 3,000 black armored corps and the 4 Qi azure sharp sword in his hand, Zhuge Yuanhong wasn't afraid of the men of Qinghu Island. Ting Qingshan knew nothing about what was happening outside. At the bottom level of the heavenly flood palace that was enveloped by a faint azure light, in the core, surrounded by the 9 cauldrons, Ting Qingshan was listening to the message left by Emperor Yu, the strongest expert in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures. "You know what I want you to do." The tall virtual figure smiled faintly and said, "I can't help my descendants with anything else, so I can only use this method." "All right. Later, when you take the splitting mountain axe, there will also be a small surprise." Ting Qingshan froze. "There's still a surprise? But you don't have to hope too much," the tall virtual figure said. "When the insightful emptiness realm reaches completion, the inner emptiness can break the outer emptiness. The inner emptiness is inside the human body. When one's own emptiness, which is also the world, becomes more perfect, the greater the pressure on the body. Therefore, every insightful emptiness realm expert must strengthen their own body." Ting Qingshan understood. I didn't expect that the experts who have reached the insightful emptiness realm have to think of ways to strengthen their bodies. My method is to use the world of emptiness I created to refine a large amount of the power of ice and strengthen the body. The tall virtual figure continued, the splitting mountain axe that I left behind contains my Tao of emptiness. Therefore, it can support the heavenly flood palace. At the same time, the splitting mountain axe will naturally refine the power of ice. The moment you touch the splitting mountain axe, this ice-cold power will strengthen your body, the tall virtual figure said. Ting Qingshan was overjoyed. Strengthen? The speed at which the splitting mountain axe refines the power of ice is far slower than mine. However, it has probably refined it for countless years, so the power of ice will be much stronger. Therefore, there will be a lot of ice power. The tall virtual figure shook his head and smiled. But don't get your hopes up. Even if you are a Golden Dan innate expert, your body's endurance is limited. I estimate that you can at most increase your strength by 10 to 20,000 gene. Your body won't be able to improve anymore. No matter how much frost power there is, it will be a waste. Yes, the owner of the 9 prefectures' cauldrons. I only hope that you can take care of the descendants of my 2 lineages. I can't force you. I'm only asking you to do this. Emperor Yu smiled at Ting Qingshan and the virtual figure disappeared. The inside of the golden round cover became peaceful again. The bottom level of the heavenly flood palace was silent. Only Ting Qingshan was there. Ting Qingshan closed his eyes for a while before he calmed down completely. Emperor Yu, you have painted a big picture for me. Ting Qingshan was very clear-headed. What emptiness realm? What insightful emptiness realm? Everything was too vague. Ting Qingshan was only at the minute subtlety realm. He hadn't even reached the realm of enlightenment. How could he talk about the emptiness realm? As for the insightful emptiness realm, according to Emperor Yu, only 1 out of 10 emptiness realm experts was an insightful emptiness realm expert. What I should think about now is how to bring the 9 cauldrons out without being discovered. Ting Qingshan looked at the 9 three-legged cauldrons. If I want to move the cauldrons, I must take the splitting mountain axe. Ting Qingshan looked at the splitting mountain axe that was floating in midair. Wisps of faint azure-green light flowed around the axe. Ting Qingshan's eyes brightened. Emperor Yu said that the great amount of power of ice that the splitting mountain axe refined for thousands of years can strengthen the body? Ting Qingshan squinted his eyes and said, Emperor Yu, maybe the body of the Golden Dan innate experts can only increase their strength by 10 to 20,000 gene. However, I am different from them. Ting Qingshan was sure that his body's endurance was definitely stronger than that of the Golden Dan innate experts. He took 3 steps forward. Ting Qingshan raised his head and looked at the black and thick splitting mountain axe that was very close to him. Feeling the pressure, Ting Qingshan stretched out his right hand. So cold! Ting Qingshan grabbed the handle of the axe and felt the coldness. Then, the azure-green light that was flowing around the entire heavenly flood palace suddenly stopped. Crack! A white light emitted from the splitting mountain axe and rapidly extended to Ting Qingshan's arm along the handle. Then, this strange white light permeated into Ting Qingshan's body. Cold. Bone-piercing cold. Soul-piercing cold. Besides the cold, there was also intense pain. The pain that penetrated deep into his bones, spread to every part of his body. Buzz, the snow-white light on the surface of the splitting mountain axe brightened, and a faint snow-white light shot out from the surface of Ting Qingshan's skin. Ting Qingshan's face was snow-white, the veins on his forehead bulged, his muscles twisted, and his eyes turned red. No matter if it was his internal organs, bones, or muscles, they were all undergoing shocking changes. Ting Qingshan's bones and muscles felt as if they were being bombarded by a huge hammer, breaking through and becoming harder. Ting Qingshan's entire body felt as if it was being bitten by millions of ants. His hands and feet twitched uncontrollably. Ah, Ting Qingshan's throat emitted an unbearable roar of pain. Pooh! The swollen veins on Ting Qingshan's forehead actually burst, and a stream of fresh blood spurted out. Pa! Pa! The skin on his face cracked open, and fresh blood spurted out. His face was covered in blood, and the human skin mask on his face fell off. Ting Qingshan let out a suppressed roar, and the muscles and bones in his entire body emitted intense sounds. His height gradually increased. It's so King painful. Ting Qingshan couldn't help but roar as he knelt on the ground. He was in so much pain that he couldn't help but punch the ground with his fist. The skin on his right fist had mostly cracked, and the knuckles of his fist had turned white. Waves of terrifying power, like that of a wild beast, flowed through his body. Boom! Boom! Loud sounds rang out, and terrifying craters actually appeared on the green ground. Ting Qingshan, whose entire body was stained with blood, was more than 8 chi tall. He looked like a demon god bathed in blood as he smashed into the ground. Only by doing so could he divert some of his pain. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.